Chapter 180. The mute died. A sharp sword slashed down, but it stopped in front of the swordsman's forehead. Chu Sheng changed his mind. He smiled cruelly and took out a bottle. This is old Godfather's salt water. It is extremely powerful. When you eat, drip a drop into your food, and it will immediately change from sweet to salty, spicy to salty, sour to salty, bitter to salty. In short, everything will become salty. What? Old Godfather's salt water? The salt water from Old Man Chow's stall at the foot of the sect. Tiger Cliff and Li Gang Pao recognized it at a glance. So you have eaten Old Man Chow's liangpi before? Chu Sheng was a little surprised. He raised his nose and said, "That's right, the salt water is from Old Man Chow. I originally planned to leave it for Qin Hao to enjoy, but since you are Qin Hao's lackey, you should taste it first." Chu Sheng stared at the swordsman with evil intentions. "What do you want to do?" The swordsman trembled. I want to chop your flesh and blood and pour Old Godfather's salt water into your wounds," Chu Sheng said cruelly. Old Godfather's salt water was extremely domineering. He had personally experienced it when he ate liangpi. "If you want to kill me, then kill me. Don't use such despicable methods." The swordsman's voice trembled. He was very afraid of the salt water. "Are you afraid now? Don't you admire Qin Hao? Now I will give you a chance. Shout Qin Hao is trash, and I, Chu Sheng, am a genius 3 times. Then I will give you a quick death. Otherwise," Chu Sheng removed the cork from the bottle. The salt water inside was about to drip onto the swordsman's face. I will shout, I will shout. Come closer," the swordsman said weakly after being slashed by the sword. "Ha ha ha." Chu Sheng laughed loudly. Old Godfather's salt water was too coquettish. Relying on his skills, he bent down and passed his ear over. "Qin Hao is the Sage King. You are dog shit." After the swordsman finished speaking, he bit Chu Sheng's ear. He swung his head with all his strength and pulled the ear off. Immediately, blood spurted out. Chu Sheng screamed like a pig and crazily slashed at the swordsman under his feet. 1 slash, 2 slashes, 3 slashes, sword slashes, the swordsman's flesh and blood. His clothes were torn. Chu Sheng poured the salt water down. Immediately, a burning sensation swept through his entire body. The swordsman was in so much pain that his entire body twitched. However, he clenched his teeth and did not cry out in pain. This scene caused everyone to be moved. Many disciples of the Gui Hai sect gave him a thumbs up. The swordsman was a man and had won their respect. Tiger Cliff and Li Gang Pao were in tears. Chu Feng was even worse than Pig Dog. "Damn it, you didn't even cry out in pain. I feel extremely embarrassed. Look at this face of mine. This is the result of being my enemy. Go to hell." Chu Sheng swung his sword towards the swordmaster's neck. This sword brought about a merciless cold light. The disciples of Fengli Temple covered their eyes at the same time, unable to bear to watch. However, this sword did not slash down. A powerful aura descended from the sky, and the surging yuan qi blew the sand and rocks away, directly sending Chu Sheng flying. The swordsman raised his head, and tears flowed down his face. He choked on his tears and found it hard to speak. The peerless figure in his memory had finally returned. "It's you," Chu Sheng steadied himself. The person who had rushed over was Qin Hao. Qin Hao had taken the initiative to send himself to him. Moreover, on his back, he was actually carrying Chen Wanqin. Chen Wanqin was like a little girl. Her face was bashful as she buried her head in Qin Hao's shoulder. She seemed to be enjoying it very much. Chu Sheng was so angry that his blood vessels were about to burst. He was about to go crazy. He had chased after Chen Wanqin in the sect for so many years, but he did not even have the chance to get within 3 meters of her. Chen Wanqin had already been touched and hugged by Qin Hao. Now, he was carrying her like a wife. There was no difference between the two of them. "You bitch." Chu Sheng almost lost his mind. He was so angry that his face and neck were red. He slowly walked over. Chen Wanqin was lying on Qin Hao's back, experiencing the feeling of flying in the air. Suddenly, the mute man stopped. At this moment, Chen Wanqin opened her eyes. The poison in her body was not deep to begin with. Moreover, She had broken through to the Origin Master realm. The first thing she saw when she regained her sight was Chu Sheng walking toward her. Chu Sheng's eyes were bloodshot, as if he was in heat. This gave Chen Wanqin a shock. Her heart trembled violently. She felt as if she had fallen from the clouds into the abyss. Was the mute man really Chu Sheng? If it was really Chu Sheng, Chen Wanqin would rather die. Suddenly, she realized that something was wrong. Why was she so tall? She looked down and realized that she was riding on someone else's back. She suddenly realized that this person was the mute man. She heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the mute man was not Chu Sheng. However, why did the mute man's clothes look so familiar? She slowly lowered her head and glanced at the mute man's side profile. Crack! A bolt of lightning struck in front of her. The mute man was Qin Hao. Chen Wanqin's face twisted in an instant. Her heart was filled with all sorts of feelings. The considerate mute man, the gentle mute man, the brave mute man, and the perfect man who stepped forward bravely. It was actually Qin Hao. Qin Hao swept through the outer sect and stepped into the inner sect. He slapped the sect master and beat up the deacons. He was mentally twisted and had done many lawless things. Not only that, he even tricked Chen Wanqin into attacking the giant python while he took the opportunity to escape. He even stole the spiritual sun fruit and abandoned Chen Wanqin. He was a cowardly, shameless, and despicable person. How could he be the heroic mute? This made Chen Wanqin fall into confusion. She could not accept it at all. She could not figure out if the mute man had tricked her, or if Qin Hao had tricked her. She even felt that it was still a dream. After waking up from the dream, Qin Hao was still Qin Hao. The mute man was still the mute man. But the cruel reality told her that this was not a dream. The mute man she had been looking forward to meeting was really Qin Hao. At this moment, Qin Hao did not have as complicated feelings as Chen Wanqin. He said coldly, "Come down." The swordsman was badly mutilated. Tiger Cliff's head was wrapped in gauze. Li Gangpao covered his swollen buttocks. Only 7 of the 10 disciples were left. Chu Sheng was still holding a bloody sword in his hand. It was obvious that the remaining 3 disciples had been killed by Chu Sheng and Guihai's sect. Chu Sheng had betrayed Fengli Temple. This was in line with Qin Hao's guess. Otherwise, Chu Sheng would not have disguised himself as Chu Ritian and escaped from the sect. Chen Wanqin could not accept the fact that Qin Hao was a mute, but she also noticed that the situation was bad. There was no need for Qin Hao to say anything. He instantly distanced himself from the other party. Chen Wanqin felt that her heart was empty in an instant. The mute man dissipated like a cloud of smoke and left, never to be seen again. You shameless bitch. You really hooked up with Qin Hao. Are you worthy of my gilded face? Chu Sheng roared at Chen Wanqin incoherently, as if he had a mad cow disease. Master, senior sister, this Chu Sheng is a beast. He killed junior brother Xiao He. The swordsman hugged Qin Hao's leg and cried. No need to say any more. I have already seen through everything. With Qin Hao's 600 years of eyesight, if he still could not see through it, he would have lived in vain. He turned to Chen Wanqin and said, "If I disappoint you, then from now on, you will die as a mute." Boom! Chen Wanqin felt as if her heart was hit by a huge rock. She staggered and her heart was in pain. It was as if she had lost the whole world, so she had nothing. The mute man who had saved her many times was just an empty title. The mute man did not exist. Chapter 181. Farewell to the gilded face. I don't trust anyone in this world anymore, and I don't want to see you again. Now, please leave my sight. Chen Wanqin held back her tears. You want me to leave? Qin Hao pointed at his nose and asked. That's right, right now. Chen Wanqin turned her head to the side. Figure out the current situation. If I leave, will you be able to live? Qin Hao was so angry that he laughed. So what? Don't you like to escape? Keep running. Chen Wanqin said angrily. Hey. You guys are flirting with each other here. Have you considered everyone's feelings? Ding Dafei's face was full of displeasure. This was a living torture for singles. That's right. He's simply looking down on us, treating us like air. You're even more vicious than the old demon. The disciples of the Guihai sect were extremely dissatisfied. Shut up, shut up. Qin Hao and Chun Wanxin spoke at the same time and said the same thing. Puff. Chu Sheng raised his head and spat out a mouthful of donkey blood. The sword in his hand trembled in front of Qin Hao's face. Wow. Even the way you speak is exactly the same. You two bitches, are you worthy of my gilded face? Get lost. Qin Hao felt disgusted when he saw Chu Sheng. He took out some medicine and poured it on the swordsman. Swordsmen were really pitiful. Second grade, golden creation medicine. The swordsman was stunned. Then, he said emotionally, Master, I love you. I'm so pissed off. Senior brothers of the Guihai sect, please allow me to use my unique skills to teach this arrogant guy a lesson. Chu Sheng was treated like air by Qin Hao, and he could no longer tolerate it. Ding Da Fei and Horse Donkey Eggs nodded in unison. Qin Hao is indeed too arrogant. Lu Ro mocked. Qin Hao, why don't you come over here and kneel in front of Brother Donkey's crotch and beg him to spare your worthless life? Qin Hao curled his lips in disgust and spat out a mouthful of saliva. Spit, you. Lu Ro's face turned green with anger. Qin Hao dared to spit at her, a dignified young mistress. Good. You don't know how to appreciate my kindness. I'll make you feel like shit later, and you. Lu Ro pointed at Chan Wanqin and said, There are so many mighty and strong senior turtle brothers here. You bitch, why don't you take off all your clothes and serve them well? Although your looks and temperament are inferior to mine, if you are willing to work hard, perhaps our senior brothers will spare your life. Spit. Chen Wanqin also spat a mouthful of spit. Anyway, Mute was gone. Everything was meaningless to her. She did not care about her image anymore. Good. Just wait for me to give you a taste of all 109 different flying postures. Lu Ro was really angry. She tried to persuade her with good intentions. Chen Wanqin really deserved to die. All of you shut up. I wanted to teach Qin Hao a lesson for a long time. Let me show you my skills first. Chu Sheng gritted his teeth and waved the sword in his hand at Qin Hao. I've been waiting for this day for a long time. I've always wanted to teach you a lesson, but unfortunately, I never had the chance. The heavens have eyes. Now, you're finally in my hands. You don't have to pretend to be calm. I know your strength very well, but you don't know my strength at all. Today, I came prepared. Look at what I'm holding in my hand. Chu Sheng raised the salt water. Old Godfather's salt water? Qin Hao showed a serious expression. He had also eaten Old Man Chow's liampi. That's right. Are you scared now? I was going to pour the salt water into your flesh, but your lackey was too disobedient, so I let him have a taste first. Ha. Chu Sheng laughed wildly. It was Qin Hao's turn next. Qin Hao looked down. No wonder the swordsman was so badly injured. He had been injured by Old Man's salt water. Qin Hao could not help but clench his fists tightly. Old Man's salt water is not my only treasure. Next, open your dog eyes and see clearly. Chu Sheng shouted, the origin chi in his body surging. The 7th layer of element gathering tear rose to the 8th layer of element gathering tear. This gave Tiger Cliff and the others a great shock. In order to defeat you with overwhelming strength, my grandfather took out his trump card yesterday to help me break through to the 8th layer of element gathering tear. Don't underestimate my 8th layer. I have the battle prowess of a 9th layer. As Chu Sheng spoke, he deliberately turned around and glared at Ding Da Fei. Ding Da Fei showed a nervous expression. He did not expect Chu Sheng to have hidden his true strength. In an instant, Ding Da Fei's attitude towards Chu Sheng took a 180-degree turn. Brother Chu, quickly show off your skills and make your enemy scream and wail in pain. Chu Sheng was very pleased with Ding Da Fei's respectful attitude. He raised the sword in his hand. And this sword of mine. This sword is a low-grade sharp weapon. It can cut through hair, cut through iron like mud, and cause tomatoes to tremble in fear. It can enter white and come out red. With one slash, it can split a watermelon and cause its juice to splatter. It also has a murderous aura that can cause children to cry. Today, you won't be able to escape. When I came here, I swore that I would make you kneel at my feet and beg me to kill you. Now, I will use this sword to carve a few holes in your body, and then pour old man's salt water into them. I will make you suffer a fate worse than death. Take one last look at my gold-plated face, because in the next second, you will never see it again. You F*** king, come here. Qin Hao stretched out his hand, and a majestic origin, Qi pulled him like a python, directly sucking Chu Sheng, who was spitting out blood, in front of him. Qin Hao slapped Chu Sheng to the ground, then snatched the sword and cut down Chu Sheng's thigh. Swish! The severed limb flew up. Chu Sheng let out a heart-wrenching scream. The first scream was hoarse, as if his anus had been ruptured. The second scream was tearing his vocal cords. While the third scream was heard by the Ritterni disciples, their hair stood on end. They felt as if they had fallen into hell. Qin Hao grabbed old man's salt water and poured it all over Chu Sheng's bleeding, severed leg. Immediately, a puff of white smoke rose from the flesh. Chu Sheng was rolling on the ground in pain. He kept twitching and screaming like a pig being slaughtered. He cried and begged like a grandson. Qin Hao, I was wrong. For the sake of my gold-plated face, please don't torture me anymore. This scene made everyone's jaws drop. Chu Sheng, who was majestic just now, turned into a grandson rolling on the ground in the blink of an eye. This scene happened so fast that no one could react. Even Chen Wanqin, who had advanced to the primordial master state, did not expect Qin Hao to attack so quickly and fiercely. A violent maniac is a violent maniac. Chen Wanqin curled her lips and looked very disgusted. But in her heart, well, it was so satisfying. Chu Sheng deserved it. You're a piece of trash. Trash. Ding Dafei and Horse Donkey Eggs cursed and spat at Chu Sheng. The Ritterni disciples gave Chu Sheng an indecent middle finger. Just now, he was bragging more than anyone, but in the blink of an eye, he was subdued. It seemed that Chu Sheng's strength was really weak. He was too weak to stand up to the wind. At this moment, everyone only felt that Chu Sheng was too weak. However, no one felt that Qin Hao was too strong. How does it feel? Qin Hao bent down and asked Chu Sheng's face. Since we're brothers, Brother Hao, please treat me as a black fart and let me go. I beg you. Chu Sheng's throat was bleeding. The salt water made him feel worse than death. Let you go. Okay. Chapter 182. Stealing your wife's money. Chu Sheng was extremely flustered. He pulled on Horse Donkey Egg's pants and begged, Senior Brother Ma, I'm the grandson of the great elder of Fengli Temple. I have money and treasures. You can play with as many female disciples as you want. I will obediently give them to you. How can you say that I am useless? Chu Sheng kept saying that he was the grandson of the great elder. It was as if other than being the grandson of the great elder, he was useless. That's right. My friendship with Chu Sheng is unwavering. Qin Hao, you don't have to sow discord between us. I, Horse Donkey Eggs, am a dignified gentleman. Helping others is the foundation of my happiness. Pucci, as Horse Donkey Eggs spoke, he stabbed his sword into Chu Sheng's chest. Since helping others is the foundation of your happiness, I will help you free from the pain of old Godfather's salt water. You useless piece of trash. Chu Sheng was a lackey. Since his leg was broken, he had lost the value of biting. Wouldn't it be a waste of air to let him live? As for money and women, Horse Donkey Eggs would go get them himself. After all, Fengli Temple was about to collapse. You bastard, remember my face. I will not let you go even if I turn into a ghost. Chu Sheng used his last breath. Before he died, he pulled down Horse Donkey Egg's pants. Horse Donkey Eggs made a fool of himself in front of everyone. Pucci. He bent down and stabbed his sword again. Chu Sheng was completely stabbed into the palace of the king of hell. You're still letting out a stinky fart to scare me. Trash. Horse Donkey Eggs hurriedly pulled up his pants. Chu Sheng was really a son of a bitch. This scene chilled everyone's heart. It also scared Lu Ro quite a bit. Horse Donkey Egg spoke of righteousness, but when he attacked, he killed. If he was the least bit unhappy, Lu Ro could not guarantee that she would not be the next one to die. Lu Ro hurriedly knelt on the ground and helped Horse Donkey Eggs put on his pants. At the same time, Tiger Cliff and Li Gang Pao were secretly glad that they did not become Guihai's lackeys. Otherwise, Chu Sheng would have been the best outcome. When Chu Sheng came, he swore that he would make Qin Hao kneel down and beg for mercy. In the end, he was the one who knelt down. Qin had already warned him not to dig his own grave. Chu Sheng just had to dig a grave for himself in the erupting volcano. Qin Hao, you are hateful. Ding Dafei was embarrassed. In fact, Chu Sheng had almost become his lackey. Qin Hao cut off Chu Sheng's leg in front of Ding Dafei. He even let Ma Donkey Egg kill Chu Sheng with his own hands. He did not put Chu Sheng's Lin's lackey. Chu Art Master's dog is, to be honest. Qin Hao did not put him in his eyes. He bent down and applied medicine for Sore Man. This made Ding Daoist even angrier. Qin Hao treated him like nothing. Senior Brother Ding is asking you a question. Qin Hao, get your ass over here. Lu Rose saw the opportunity and quickly flattered him. Don't think that you can challenge Senior Brother Ding and Senior Brother Ma after you defeated Chu Sheng. I see that the people of Fengli Temple are useless. Tiger Cliff is useless, Swordman is useless, Chu Sheng is useless, and even you, Qin Hao, are useless. So, hurry up and kneel in front of Brother Donkey and Senior Brother Ding to atone for your sins. This is my warning to you. Lu Rose scolded him severely. Shen Wanqin was also interested. She wanted to see what Qin Hao would do. Would he choose to run away with his tail between his legs? Or would he become Ding Daofei's big gray dog? To everyone's disappointment, Qin Hao was still applying medicine for Swordman and did not bother to look at Ding Daofei. I'm so angry. Ding Daofei could not suppress his anger. He stepped forward and took out a heavy sword that was as wide as a palm from his back. This sword was majestic, shining with cold light, and as heavy as 1,000 caddies. It was a rare medium-grade refined weapon. Ding Daofei had gone through several life and death tests before he became a core disciple of Guihai sect and obtained this sword. This was his proudest asset. Qin Hao, if you get your ass over here now and swear to be my henchman, I'll spare your life. If not, I'll make you a ghost under my sword. Ding Daofei held the big sword and said coquettishly. Qin Hao was stronger than Chu Sheng, but Ding Daofei did not think that Qin Hao was stronger than him. Qin Hao defeated Chu Sheng, who was just a watery Chu Sheng. However, Qin Hao's speed was a little shocking, which made Ding Daofei a little afraid. After all, even Horse Donkey Eggs was not as fast as Qin Hao. If Qin Hao became Ding Daofei's henchman, he would have a sense of superiority and feel that Horse Donkey Eggs was not as good as him. Get your ass over here and beg for my forgiveness. Ding Daofei shouted majestically as if he was doing Qin Hao a great favor. Many disciples of Guihai sect were jealous. Ding Daofei was a core disciple and the direct disciple of the third elder. It was a great fortune to be his henchman. Many people even began to envy Qin Hao. However, Qin Hao still did not look at Ding Daofei. He held Chu Sheng's sword and asked the swordsman indifferently, "Do you like this sword?" Qin Hao had broken the swordsman's day sword. Today, he was going to pay him back. The swordsman shook his head. It's too small. It's not good. Oh, Qin Hao glanced around and saw that the sword in Ding Daofei's hand was not bad. It was somewhat similar to the day sword. Suddenly, Qin Hao's squatting body swept up like a gust of wind, and a shadow flashed by at lightning speed. Ding Daofei only felt that the sword in his hand was suddenly lighter. The medium-grade refined weapon, which he regarded as his wife, was gone. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. Before anyone could see it clearly, the sword had run into Qin Hao's hand. How about this sword? Qin Hao handed the heavy sword to the swordsman. Although the appearance is not good, the quality is just so. The swordsman took the medium-grade, refined weapon happily. It was obvious that he liked it very much. This made Tiger Cliff and Li Gang Pao look at him with disdain. The day sword of the swordsman was a trash, ordinary weapon. Now, he was so lucky to be given a medium-grade, refined weapon by Senior Brother Qin Hao. He was so envious of others. Crack! The disciples of the Guihai sect were so shocked that their jaws almost fell to their feet. Boom! Horse Donkey Eggs widened his eyes and opened his mouth, so wide that an egg could be stuffed into his mouth. This, Ding Daofei looked at his hands. They were empty in the blink of an eye. The sword, this is impossible. This is absolutely impossible. It must be an illusion. He snatched the sword with his bare hands, and he snatched senior brother Ding's beloved wife's money from him, who is in the 9th tier of Yuan gathering tier. The disciples of the Guihai sect rubbed their eyes so hard that their eyelids were about to be torn. However, the truth was cruel. It was true that Qin Hao snatched Ding Daofei's sword. He only relies on his speed. In the end, he only knows how to run and doesn't dare to fight head-on. Chen Wanqin curled her lips in disdain again. But in her heart, she was happy. She should snatch grandson Ding's wife's money back. She really brought glory to the Fengli Temple. I'll kill you. With an earth-shattering roar, Ding Daofei ran towards Qin Hao while wiping his tears. Qin Hao snatched his wife's money. He gave it to someone else. He even gave it to a trash disciple of the Fengli Temple. What right did the swordsman have to use Ding Daofei's sword? This was an undisguised insult to Ding Daofei. Tiger-taming fist. At this moment, Ding Daofei did not hold back his battle prowess in the 9th tier of Yuan gathering tier. He used a low-level, profound, grade origin skill. Chapter 183. The Saint King reappears in aura that could topple mountains and overturn seas, swept over like a monstrous wave. This scene was extremely shocking. Ding Daofei was indeed a powerful warrior in the 9th layer of element gathering tier. Everyone shook their heads and sighed. Qin Hao was most likely going to die. After all, he had only shown the strength of the 7th layer of element gathering tier. He had only taken advantage of his speed and snatched the sword when Ding Daofei was unprepared. He was definitely no match for Ding Daofei in a head-on fight. This tiger-subduing fist would definitely make Qin Hao bleed on the spot, especially the swordsman, who cried nervously, "Master, leave quickly. You came back to see us. Even if I die, I'll be satisfied. Run." Finishing his words, the swordsman raised his sword high and slashed at the charging tiger. Qin Hao was even faster than him. He stood with one hand and pointed a finger. Chua! A dazzling green beam of light shot out from his fingertips like a laser beam, scattering the charging tiger with a single strike. The beam of light did not slow down. It passed through Ding Daofei's chest and came out from his back, piercing through his entire chest. Boom! An earth-shattering roar. After Qin Hao's heaven-grade finger art killed Ding Daofei, it pierced through a tree 10 meters behind him. The tree fell with a loud crash. This scene was extremely shocking. Silence. Dead silence. The scene was so quiet that it made one's hair stand on end. Ding Daofei's eyes widened in disbelief as he looked at the bloody hole in his chest and saw the broken heart inside. His face was distorted. He wanted to speak. However, the power of Qin Hao's finger attack was beyond his imagination. It had shattered his internal organs. Ding Daofei did not even leave behind a last word. His corpse was left in the wilderness. The genius of Guihai sect had fallen just like that. Is this real? Senior brother Daofei is dead. He was killed in one move. Our top student couldn't even withstand a single blow. The disciples of Guihai sect spoke in a daze. You keep saying that you're clear about my strength. Then, I've reached the 9th layer of element gathering tier. Could it be that none of you can tell? Qin Hao revealed a kind smile. In truth, he was already at the peak stage of the 9th layer of element gathering tier. He was only half a step away from Origin Master tier. Ghost! The disciples of the Guihai sect screamed in horror and retreated in panic. The encirclement quickly expanded outward. Not only were the disciples of the Guihai sect shocked, Tiger Cliff and the others were also stunned. Qin Hao's strength was beyond imagination. Killing a martial artist in the 9th layer of element gathering tier was as easy as snapping a finger. At this moment, it was as if they could see the domineering figure that swept through the outer sect, trampled the inner sect, and beat up the elders. This is our Fengli Temple's eldest senior brother, a true eldest senior brother. our proud top student, a martial artist in the ninth layer of element gathering tier. I'm so proud of Fengli Temple. Saint King, Saint King, Saint King. Tiger Cliff and the others waved their arms and cheered, their faces filled with tears of excitement. After being bullied by the Guihai sect for so long, even Chu Sheng had become their lackey. Qin Hao's appearance had won back the sect's dignity. However, Qin Hao's speed of advancement was too fast. He had reached the ninth layer of element gathering tier after taking the command flag back. He must have eaten the spirit sunfruit too, Chen Wanqin said sourly. However, she was extremely touched. The disciples of the Fengli Temple should be as domineering as Qin Hao. Chen Wanqin seemed to see the mute figure in Qin Hao again. He was fearless of any danger, stood out bravely, and did not abandon the disciples. However, this time, she could see and touch the mute. He was not as illusory and ethereal as before. Horse Donkey Eggs looked at Ding Dafei's corpse on the ground and was deeply shocked. He broke out in a cold sweat. Lu Ro was so scared that her face turned pale. Qin Hao had easily killed a martial artist in the ninth layer of element gathering tier. It was unbelievable. Lu Ro began to regret. She regretted insulting Qin Hao and making Qin Hao kneel. Since Qin Hao could kill Ding Dafei, then Horse Donkey Eggs, Lu Ro did not dare to think further. She was so scared that her heart was about to explode. She had to think of a way to make Horse Donkey Eggs win. Otherwise, Lu Ro was doomed. She grabbed Horse Donkey Eggs' clothes tightly and said with an encouraging look, "Senior brother Ma, don't be afraid. Qin Hao is just lucky. You are the genius of the Guihai sect. The people of the Fengli Temple are all worse than pigs and dogs. They're a bunch of trash. As long as you make a move, Qin Hao will die for sure. Yes, Senior brother Ma, don't admit defeat. You are the #1 master of Qi. Hurry up and kill Qin Hao, the old demon." The disciples of the Guihai sect also began to shout. If even Horse Donkey Eggs died, then none of them would be able to live. Ma Donkey Egg swallowed his saliva with difficulty and calmed down. His expression gradually regained his confidence. They were both in the ninth layer of element gathering tier, so he had no reason to fear Qin Hao. Moreover, Ding Dafei was indeed not as strong as Horse Donkey Eggs. Ding Dafei was good at using swords. He would only die if his sword was snatched away. Horse Donkey Egg's origin chi was very strong and had reached the limit of the ninth layer of element gathering tier. In fact, Horse Donkey Eggs and Tiger Cliff cultivated in the same way. Their origin chi was much stronger than people of the same level. He was not afraid of Qin Hao at all. He gathered his courage and took a step forward. He arrogantly pointed at Qin Hao's nose and said, "You have the right to make me look at you seriously. Of course, you only have a right. In fact, you're no match for me. If you want to fight, then fight. Cut the crap," Qin Hao said coldly. Horse Donkey Egg's eyes twitched. Although he was not afraid of Qin Hao, he did not want to become Qin Hao's enemy. He was here to kill Chen Wanqin. Even if Horse Donkey Eggs could kill Qin Hao, he would have to pay a price. This was the result that Horse Donkey Eggs did not want to face. "Brother Qin Hao, to tell you the truth, my goal is to kill Chen Wanqin. I'm not afraid of you. As long as you are willing to step aside and let me kill Chen Kang's daughter, I can forgive you for killing Ding Dafei. What do you think?" Horse Donkey Eggs said humbly. Everyone's eyes nearly popped out of their sockets. Horse Donkey Eggs was too spineless, too unrighteous. His own brothers were dead, and he did not even dare to fart. At the same time, the disciples of Fengli Temple also understood the purpose of this trial. Guihai sect's real goal was Chen Wanqin. As for them, they had been implicated by Chen Wanqin and had become innocent people. Thinking of this, a few female disciples took the initiative to keep a distance from Chen Wanqin so as not to get into trouble. Even Tiger Cliff and the others were shaken. After all, it was not worth offending the entire Guihai sect for Chen Wanqin. The subtle changes in the crowd did not escape Chen Wanqin's eyes. Her heart was filled with bitterness. When disaster befell them, they fled in different directions. She did not blame her brothers and sisters. Humans were all like this. No, A firm and powerful voice sounded. Qin Hao took a step forward and shielded Chen Wanqin with his body. In that instant, Chen Wanqin was so touched that she wanted to cry. In the end, the only person who would not abandon her was that idiot Qin Hao. Brother Qin Hao, you have to think carefully. Offending the Guihai sect will not end well. Horse donkey eggs threatened fiercely. I said no. Chapter 184. One sword to shock the world. Horse donkey eggs was so angry that his face trembled. As long as you're willing to give in, I'm willing to swear a blood oath with you and become your brother. If I, horse donkey eggs, can eat meat, then you, Qin Hao, can eat meat. I can even let you join the Guihai sect and become the second elder's disciple like me. The temptation of horse donkey eggs was huge. He had joined the Guihai sect and became the direct disciple of the second elder. His meteoric rise had made many disciples of the Guihai sect extremely jealous. No, Qin Hao did not waver at all. Horse donkey eggs gritted his teeth and took out a stack of banknotes. He estimated that there were at least 100,000 taels of silver. Brother Qin Hao, it's not easy for us to cultivate our cultivation. Why should we fight to the death over a woman? This 100,000 taels of silver is my gift to you. Please move half a step away. No. Qin Hao stood still like a wooden man. Horse donkey eggs threw caution to the wind and took out another pill. Brother Qin Hao, this is a superior grade, major origin pill. Consuming this pill will increase your chances of breaking through to the Origin Master realm by 20%. Every night before I go to sleep, I take a whiff of it. Today, I'll give it to you as well. After saying that, he handed it to Qin Hao with a pained expression. Horse donkey egg's heart was bleeding. Trash. Qin Hao didn't even look at him. You. Horse donkey eggs was so angry that he almost couldn't breathe. This was his entire fortune. Even the disciples of the Guihai sect could not bear to watch any longer. They took out 100,000 taels of silver and a high-grade, great elemental pill. As long as Qin Hao moved a single step, he would not budge. His arrogance was a little too much. Horse donkey eggs suppressed his anger and suppressed his monstrous killing intent. He changed back to his lustful expression and pointed at Chen Wanqin, saying, Brother Qin Hao, it's impossible for you not to be tempted by such a beauty. After I subdue her, I'll first let you experience pleasure and then clean up the pot for you. How about it? Hiss. Everyone sucked in a cold breath. Horse donkey eggs feared Qin Hao to such an extent. First, they gave him money, and then they gave him pills. Now, he even gave up Chen Wanqin. He even allowed Qin Hao to ravage her first. The disciples of the Guihai sect swallowed their saliva and looked at Chen Wanqin like a pack of hungry wolves. Chen Wanqin was the most talented woman in Fengli Temple. Her temperament was refined, just like a goddess. If Wang Gui hadn't given the order. In fact, even the head of the Guihai sect didn't dare to have any ideas about her. Wang Gui had the blood of the black tortoise. If nothing went wrong, he would become the champion of the martial arts competition of the Four Kingdoms. He would step out of the Jiang Kingdom and become a top student of the four major academies. At that time, even the emperor of the Jiang Kingdom would have to be respectful to him. However, Chen Wanqin was the only person who could threaten Wang Gui's throne. Of course, in order to show my sincerity, you can enjoy this coquettish woman as you wish now. Before Lu Rou could resist, Horse donkey eggs tore her hair and threw her at Qin Hao's feet. Lu Rou was so scared that her face turned pale, as if she had been struck by lightning. She gave up her dignity and was willing to be Horse donkey eggs' female slave, but he threw her away just like that. Brother donkey eggs, please don't do this. Qin Hao will kill me. Lu Rou was so scared that she cried and crawled back to Horse donkey eggs' feet to beg. Slap. Horse donkey eggs slapped Lu Rou back and sneered. To be able to serve my brother Qin Hao is the blessing of 8 lifetimes for a lowly slave like you. You have no right to say no. This time, Lu Rou's heart was completely cold. She quickly put on her charming smile, her eyes blurred. She knew that she had to please Qin Hao. Her small hand moved along Qin Hao's leg and touched Qin Hao's chest ecstatically. Brother Qin Hao, actually, I've always liked you. Do you still remember how you bravely beat up Gale for me in the sect? You're the hero in my heart. I'm willing to do anything for you." At this point, Lu Ro's heart was filled with resentment towards horse donkey eggs. She said with disdain, "Actually, I've already seen through it. The Guihai sect is a bunch of trash. They can't even compare to a single finger of our Fengli Temple's disciples. Especially horse donkey eggs, they can't even compare to Brother Qin Hao." "Brother Qin Hao, can you hug me?" "Scram," Qin Hao said coldly. He was unwilling to hit a woman. "Brother Qin Hao, why do you have to pretend to be so noble? Any man who sees me will not be able to control himself. Why don't I let you have some fun first?" Lu Ro squatted down and wanted to take off Qin Hao's pants. "I told you to scram." A deep roar like that of a proud dragon soared into the sky. Turbulent vitality vibrated from Qin Hao's body. It heavily hit Lu Ro's body and sent her flying 7 to 8 meters away. She spat out a mouthful of blood on the ground. She couldn't believe it. She simply couldn't believe it. There was actually a man who despised her, the second daughter of the Lu family. At this moment, Chen Wanqin was extremely touched. Money, power, and women were placed in front of Qin Hao, but Qin Hao couldn't be swayed at all. As long as he moved away slightly, everything would be at his fingertips. However, he was willing to risk his life for her. "Move away. Actually, I'm already very grateful to you." Chen Wanqin forced a smile. She was not afraid of horse donkey eggs at all. However, she knew that behind horse donkey eggs, there was an old man named Guihai. The strength of Guihai's saber was unshakable. I said no. Not only did Qin Hao not move away, he even held the sharp sword in his hand and got into a fighting stance. Fine. For AB asterisk TCH, you don't know what's good for you. You don't even care about me, horse donkey eggs, and provoke me again and again. Today, I'll let you know how powerful I am. Horse donkey eggs couldn't take it anymore and roared. He released the aura of the 9th layer of element gathering tier, and a strong green light enveloped his body, causing the ground to tremble. Obviously, he was using his ultimate move. Haha, Qin Hao, go see the king of hell. Big brother donkey eggs, I love you. Lu Ro cursed mournfully. Horse donkey eggs couldn't be bothered to look at her. He hated this woman to the core, but he had to kill Qin Hao first. Junior brothers, surround Qin Hao. I'm going to cut him into pieces. Shwa. 9 Guihai disciples drew their swords at the same time. They were all elites among elites, and their strength was all above the 5th layer of element gathering tier. Like a pack of wolves bearing their fangs, they surrounded Qin Hao. At this moment, Tiger Cliff and the others were extremely nervous. Unfortunately, their strength was too low, and they couldn't help at all. They clenched their palms until they bled. In front of such a powerful enemy, they didn't dare to take a step forward. Boundless fury of the mad dragon. Horse donkey eggs roared loudly. In origin, Qi raged on his fists. The disciples of Guihai sect also raised their swords, and one after another, green origin Qi after another slashed toward Qin Hao. It was a spectacular sight, as if the stars had been ignited. But what happened next made everyone's eyes pop out. After horse donkey eggs roared, he poured all the origin Qi he had raised into his legs. He shook off his feet and fled into the distance. His speed was unbelievably fast. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that horse donkey eggs' fleeing speed was comparable to that of Yuan Shi's. All the disciples of Guihai sect couldn't react in time. Horse donkey eggs actually ran. They were utterly disappointed, but then their disappointment immediately turned into despair. Qin Hao moved and swung his sword. Shwa. 9 flashes of sword light were like 9 swimming dragons. As if they had eyes, they pierced through the chests of the disciples of Guihai sect. One slash. They were all wiped out. What a fast slash. What kind of sword technique is this? I have no regrets in this life. Plop. Before the 9 disciples who had raised their swords could reach Qin Hao, they fell to the ground and died one after another. The seemingly imminent danger was dispersed by Qin Hao with one slash of his sword. Chapter 185. Grave Digger. Oh my god, you're blind in my toad eyes. This is simply. Tiger Cliff and Li Gangpao were so shocked that their souls left their bodies. Qin Hao was too strong. Even Chen Wanqin was stunned for a moment. She knew that she could also kill all the disciples of the Guihai sect. However, he couldn't do it as swiftly and fiercely as Qin Hao. Moreover, he had only used one sword strike. There were also some female disciples who covered their eyes, as they couldn't bear to watch the bloody scene. Qin Hao was too cruel. It was as if he was slaughtering pigs. However, he also knew that if he didn't kill the disciples of the Guihai sect, he wouldn't be able to kill them. Then, they would be the ones to die. Even the disciples of the Guihai sect would make them wish they were dead. It's a pity that horse-donkey eggs escaped. The swordsman looked into the distance unwillingly. The horse-donkey eggs transformed into a gust of wind and fled a kilometer away. Even if Qin Hao used his full strength, it would be difficult for him to catch up with the horse-donkey eggs, who was running away faster than Master Yuan. As soon as the words left his mouth, Qin Hao moved again. Another sword strike. His movements were as if he was drawing a sword. This sword strike caused a fierce gale to rise abruptly. This sword strike caused the heavens and earth to change colors. This sword had far exceeded the understanding of Tiger Cliff and the others. This sword strike startled all the beasts around the volcanic eruption mountain into a frenzy. It was a heaven-level sword technique. 1. Sword. Shock. Hong. The sword light slashed out like a half-moon, crossing 1,000 meters in the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye, he was behind horse-donkey eggs. Along the way, one tree after another was cut down by the sword chi. Rumbling sound could be heard incessantly. A strong aura of death approached his heart. Even horse-donkey eggs did not dare to run anymore. He turned around and looked at the sword light that was flying towards him. His eyes were filled with endless fear, and his mouth opened wider and wider. Pung! A figure blocked in front of horse-donkey eggs. His palm slashed down fiercely, drawing out a fierce green origin chi. One strike. It shattered Qin Hao's sword strike. Without a doubt, the one who made the horse-donkey eggs donkey master. Qin Hao immediately became extremely vigilant. In the dried-up pit of the Red Lotus Lake, Chunin looking donkey eggs. His gloomy old eyes looked towards the inner area of explosive flame mountain, and his heart was in a mess. Why was Chu Mu Yun donkey, Chu Chin donkey? Donkey in Fong, 2 donkey eggs donkey. Donkey eggs, tiger donkey eggs. After all, he had the help of 2 ninth-tier essence gathering disciples from Sea Return sect. Moreover, there was still a young 8th elder hiding in the dark. Thinking of this, Chunin tore off a fat leg of the pheasant and respectfully handed it to Guihai beside him. Brother Guihai, my admiration for you is like a surging river. Guihai Wendao sneered and nodded. He took the drumstick but did not eat it. Instead, he played with it in his hand. Chunin looked in the direction of the inner circle and asked cautiously, "It's been so long. We've wasted too much time. Why hasn't the 8th elder brought my grandson back yet?" In fact, Chunin had long wanted to take a look himself. Chen Wanqin has a refined temperament. Before she dies, old man's virtuous disciples will definitely love her. What's more, it's only right to waste some time to kill everyone. Guihai One Blade revealed a sinister expression and stared at Chunin with an unfriendly gaze. Thump! Chunin had a bad premonition. What did he mean by killing everyone? Could it be even Chu Sheng? Chunin's eyes widened and his mouth dropped open in disbelief. Guihai Wendao took the opportunity to grab the drumstick and stuff it into Chunin's throat. Then, he struck Chunin's chest with a heavy palm. This sudden attack caught Chunin completely off guard. He flew far away like a sack and landed heavily on the ground. Blood and drumsticks spurted out of his mouth. Guihai Wendao, I'll take care of your ancestor. Chunin suppressed his injuries and unleashed the power of a 6-star Yuan master. He desperately rushed toward the inner circle of explosive volcano. He had to go back and save Chu Sheng. Chu Sheng was his only family in the world. You want to escape? Do you think you can? Guihai One Dao soared like a rock and unleashed the power of a peak 7-star Yuan master. He chased after Chunan. He thought disdainfully, "You still want to be the sect master of Fengli Temple? Go to hell and be a ghost." Since Guihai's sect wanted to eliminate Chun King, they would not allow Fengli Temple to continue existing. They would definitely kill them all. Looking at the young man who saved horse-donkey eggs, Qin Hao revealed an extremely solemn expression. Although he was shocked that the other party had broken through One Dao's graceful slash, Qin Hao was not afraid. In fact, the slash that killed the Guihai sect disciple had only killed 9 people, including horse-donkey eggs and Ding Da Fei. There were 11 people here. Guihai One Dao had sent 12 disciples here for the trial. Without a doubt, the expert who saved horse-donkey eggs was the last disciple. He was also the disciple whose strength Qin Hao could not see through. The young man had a tall and straight posture and a sharp gaze. He grabbed horse-donkey eggs by the neck, as if he was holding chicken. He took a step forward and leaped more than 10 meters. With 2 steps, he arrived in front of Qin Hao. The strong wind brought about by his movement sent Tiger Cliff and the others flying. Even Qin Hao's feet slid on the ground, leaving a 1-meter-long scratch. A loud bang was heard. The young man threw horse-donkey eggs at Qin Hao's feet. "It's you?" When Swordsman saw the young man, cold sweat poured down his forehead. "Do you know him?" Qin Hao asked in a low voice. "No." Swordsman shook his head. When he and Tiger Cliff intercepted the Guihai sect disciples, Swordsman's first target was the young man in front of him. However, no matter how Swordsman ran or slashed, he could not get within 5 meters of the young man and could not hurt him at all. Swordsman felt powerless in front of the young man. It was as if the young man was toying with him. Swordsman immediately gave up on this strong enemy. The young man had traumatized him. It was even worse than when Qin Hao defeated the inner disciples. "Who the hell are you?" Qin Hao did not believe that this person was an ordinary disciple of the Guihai sect. "The person who dug your grave." The young man sneered. He wiped his face with his palm and revealed his true face. His chiseled face became even more handsome. At the same time, a majestic aura surged. It's 8th Elder. Boo-hoo, I'm saved." When horse-donkey eggs saw the person who came, he simply looked up to the sky and cried. Just now, he thought he was going to die. In fact, if he and Ding Dafei attacked together, they would have the confidence to kill Chen Wanqin. Chen Wanqin had the ice spiritual body, which was hard to come by in 1,000 years. In the end, Qin Hao appeared out of nowhere. Qin Hao's strength was no weaker than Ding Dafei's. He killed Ding Dafei as soon as he showed up. Without Ding Dafei's help, Horse-Donkey Eggs was not even sure that Chen Wanqin could defeat him. Not to mention Qin Hao. That was why he ran. He wanted to find Guihai sect and let the elders kill Qin Hao personally. Horse-Donkey Eggs was a core disciple. His life was very precious. Therefore, he had to survive. And his junior brother deserved to die. Anyway, those people's lives were cheap. Slap. The 8th Elder slapped Ma Donkey's face, causing him to spit out his teeth. Trash. 8th Elder snorted disdainfully. He stared coldly at Qin Hao and said, "You brat. Not bad. You let me see a big show. I'm the 8th Elder of the Guihai sect, the proud son of the 1st Elder, Guihai's second blade." This. Tiger Cliff and the others gasped. This young man was the 2nd Elder of the Guihai sect. Chapter 186. Guihai 2 Blades. As you can see, the green flame on my body is the symbol of Master Yuan. Moreover, I'm a 3-star Yuan Master. Guihai's 2 Blades looked at Qin Hao with eyes full of mockery. Hiss! Tiger Cliff and the others sucked in a breath of cold air. This person's status and strength were simply unimaginable. He was actually an unfathomable 3-star Yuan Master. The swordsman's face was filled with despair. No wonder he couldn't even get within 5 meters of the other party. Swordsman didn't lose unjustly. In fact, Swordsman felt that even Qin Hao couldn't do it. More importantly, that strike just now was your limit, right? I have to say, you're only in the 9th layer of element gathering tier, but you're able to erupt with battle prowess comparable to a 1-star Yuan master. You've really surprised me quite a bit. Guihai's heir, Dao, had accurately judged Qin Hao's strength through the exchange of blows with Qin Hao. Hiss! Tiger Cliff and the others sucked in a breath of cold air again. He didn't expect senior brother Qin Hao's true strength to be so ridiculously strong. No wonder he regarded Chu Sheng as trash and killed Ding Dafei so easily. No wonder he could annihilate all the disciples of the Guihai sect with one strike. Qin Hao had hidden too deeply. Unfortunately, he was not as good as this monstrous Guihai in front of him. Qin Hao did not deny this. His true battle prowess wasn't just at the level of a 1-star Yuan master, but at the level of a 2-star Yuan master. Even so, he wasn't confident that he could beat Guihai Erdeo. Breaking through from the Yuan master realm, from the Yuan gathering realm, was a qualitative leap. The green Yuan Qi was far stronger than the cyan Yuan Qi, and Qin Hao's indestructible samsara arts hadn't improved yet. His Qi condensation technique remained at the 5th tier of element gathering tier. Otherwise, with his current combat strength, he would be able to fight against a 3-star Yuan master. And then, Qin Hao asked. Guihai's air Dao strength was so high that he didn't want to kill Qin Hao. This made Qin Hao very curious. Then, I had the same idea as Ding Dafei. You're not bad. I've taken a liking to you. You're qualified to be my lackey and bite the civilians for me. My goal is very simple. I want to kill Chun Kang's daughter. This is Wang Gui's order. You shouldn't pay for Wang Gui. I admire you. What do you think? Go back to your master's embrace. Guihai Erdeo kindly opened his arms to Qin Hao. As long as Qin Hao was willing to lower his head, he was destined to have a bright future. Erdeo Guihai was an indisputable genius, and he was also the son of great Elder Guihai. To be his lackey was a supreme honor. He only needed to kill Chen Wanqin, and that was enough. This was Wang Gui's order, and he had no choice but to obey. It's the king turtle again. In an instant, Qin Hao clenched his fists. I'll give you 3 breaths time to consider. Do you want to? Kneel in front of me. Do you want to die? Guihai Erdeo coldly extended 3 fingers. No need for 3 breaths. I, Horse Donkey Eggs, am willing to become Big Brother Dao's lackey and be his slave for all eternity. Horse Donkey Eggs' eyes turned red with jealousy. He threw himself at Guihai Erdeo's feet and hugged his thigh tightly. Pa! Guihai Erdeo slapped Horse Donkey Eggs and sent him flying. Unfortunately, you're not qualified to be my lackey. Kacha! Lightning flashed before Tiger Cliff and the other's eyes. A cultivator in the 9th tier of element gathering tier, a respected core disciple of Guihai's sect, was not even qualified to be Guihai Erdeo's lackey. This slap was really loud and clear. Genius. He was a genius after all. I'll only give you 3 breaths time. 1. Guihai Erdeo began to count. The reason why he had endured until now and ignored Ding Dafei's tragic death was because when he met Qin Hao for the first time, he couldn't see through Qin Hao's true strength. He was secretly afraid of Qin Hao. Then, he hid in the dark and witnessed how Qin Hao killed Qin Hao and judged Qin Hao's trump card and true strength. This Qin Hao is indeed qualified to be Guihai Erdeo's lackey. 2. Guihai Erdeo continued to count, and the murderous aura on his body became stronger and stronger. The swordsman and Tiger Cliff were so shocked that they kept retreating, afraid that Guihai Erdeo would suddenly jump up and kill them. Qin Hao, please step aside. I'm really very grateful to you. Chen Wanqin didn't expect this. In order to kill her, Guihai's sect secretly planted the 8th elder. The 8th elder must have used some method to hide his true strength and escaped Dan Xian's eyes. But Qin Hao's steps were still steady. His gaze was still firm. 3. Guihai Erdeo shouted, and the green flame on his body crazily surged. Qin Hao, I beg you to step aside. Run, go back and tell my father. Ask him to avenge me. Fool, run. Chen Wanqin pushed Qin Hao away with tears in her eyes. Only with Qin Hao's speed They could escape from the periphery of volcano explosion and return to Fengli Temple. Although the chance of escaping was very slim. After all, there was still that old man Gui Hai outside. If I leave you behind, am I still a man? Qin Hao's legs were like pillars stuck in the mud, and he couldn't push them away no matter how hard he tried. In fact, he wanted to say that if he left, she would definitely die. Chen Wanqin was no match for Gui Hai Erdeo. Unfortunately, you've lost the qualification to be my lackey. Gui Hai Erdeo's eyes were fierce, and a monstrous green energy was thrown at Qin Hao. Get out of the way. Qin Hao knocked Chen Wanqin away and suddenly used the water wind steps to meet the attack with his sword. Seeing this scene, Chen Wanqin's tears fell like rain. He was still him. He had always been the mute who would never abandon her and would never back down. Boom! In the shocking sound, the green energy rolled up the flying sand and stones and fiercely bombarded Qin Hao's body and exploded into pieces of cloth. But Qin Hao's steps didn't stop, and he gritted his teeth and endured it with his body. Holding the sword, he stabbed it straight into Gui Hai Erdeo's heart. He simply didn't want to live. Crack! Unfortunately, this sword didn't pierce through Gui Hai Erdeo's body. The sword was broken. This sword was a low-grade refined weapon that Qin Hao took from Chu Sheng. It couldn't even break through Gui Hai Erdeo's defense. Ha ha ha! Stupid! Under the shocked expression of everyone, Gui Hai Erdeo tore his clothes, revealing the shiny, golden soft armor inside. Qin Hao's sword was broken by the soft armor. The soft armor was a mid-grade defensive weapon. Qin Hao didn't know that Gui Hai Erdeo was wearing the armor, and he still desperately rushed forward. At this moment, a fierce palm wind fiercely slammed down, and Gui Hai Erdeo's energy blasted Qin Hao's chest. This palm hit Qin Hao more than 10 meters away, and he couldn't stop holding the broken sword in his hand, and his hair was messy. Senior brother, master, Qin Hao. Everyone's tears flowed. Puffed. Qin Hao had just stopped when he spat out a mouthful of blood. You deserve it. You reap what you sow. You stood up for Chen Wanqin. Haha. Lu Rou laughed bitterly at the side. This Qin Hao actually dared to despise her, the second daughter of the Lu family. He really deserved to die. Kneel! Gui Hai Erdeo leaped into the air with all his might, his hands clasped above his head, and a dazzling green light burst forth from his palms. This palm blade was the ultimate skill that broke through fleeting sword. It was also a high-grade mystic technique that his father had taught him. The person who should kneel is you. Kneel! Qin Hao wasn't afraid of the wounds all over his body. His chest was bare, and he domineeringly raised his head and threw out the flipping man's seal. Buzz! The seal fell like a huge mountain, smashing onto Gui Hai Erdeo's head. Chapter 187. You're dead meat. What is it? There was no time to think. Gui Hai's two blades chopped down on the overturning person's seal. Clang! Intense sparks exploded. The overturning person's seal ferociously swallowed up his palm light and directly fell down. What the hell is this? Gui Hai Erdeo was so anxious that he screamed and had no choice but to raise his hands above his head. As soon as they touched, his palms were numb from the shock. Moreover, he was ruthlessly pressed down from midair. The flipping person's seal forced Gui Hai and Erdeo to retreat 6 or 7 steps. They were battered and exhausted. This push also pushed the flipping person's seal back in the direction of Qin Hao. What kind of plaything is this? Gui Hai Erdeo's skin cracked, revealing a bitter expression. Qin Hao actually still had a trick up his sleeve. Trash of slave. You do whatever Wang Gui tells you to do. As a young 3-star Yuan master, you have become someone else's lackey. You don't even recognize the flipping person's seal. Trash. Qin Hao held the seal in his palm, looking extremely domineering. You damn it. Gui Hai's second blade was furious. He had indeed become Wang Gui's lackey. This was a scar in his heart. Qin Hao was right. Wang Gui had awakened the black tortoise bloodline, and his future was limitless. Once he graduated from the 4 great academies, he would become an influential figure in the Western Liangland. At that time, Guihai's air Dao would also have the ability to summon the wind and rain. Although he was really unwilling in his heart, he could only blame Wang Guai for being too strong. If Guihai Erdao was an indisputable genius, Wang Guai was a genius among geniuses, an emperor among geniuses. It's true that I can't compare to Wang Guai, but you can't even compare to Wang Guai's shit. It's my honor to be his lackey. You don't even have the qualifications to be his lackey. You're only fit to be my lackey. Get down. Guihai's heir, Dao, was furious. He swore to make Qin Hao suffer a fate worse than death. Immediately, he gathered the green yuan qi in his palms again, leaped high into the air, and struck another palm blade at Qin Hao's head. Jumping around like a toad, get down here. Qin Hao injected his primordial qi into the flipping person seal and threw it up again. Duong. He really smashed Guihai's saber down. This made Guihai Duo Dao feel extremely aggrieved. I'll fight you to the death. Guihai Air Dao was so angry that he was about to go crazy. It was his shame to become Wang Gui's lackey, and now he couldn't even deal with the little Qin Hao. Although the flipping person seal was very powerful, it still couldn't cause fatal damage to Guihai's two blades. The surging power of a 3-star Yuan master was completely unleashed. He swore to kill Qin Hao even if he had to take a hit from the seal. Good timing. Go. Qin Hao raised his hand and threw out the flipping man seal. He had to say that he really had to thank the 8 generations of old demon Black Mountain's ancestors. Dango didn't even have time to use the Dharma treasure that old demon Black Mountain's Dango had given him before Qin Hao snatched it away. Guihai Air Dao gritted his teeth and endured the attack. He held the seal above his head and ran directly toward Qin Hao. This scene was extremely strange. It was as if Guihai Air Dao was carrying a mountain and running toward Qin Hao, wanting to smash Qin Hao to death. Die! You're the one who's going to die. Qin Hao seized the opportunity and opened his spatial ring without holding back. In an instant, a bright light burst out from his finger, as if illuminating the entire world. A blood sword appeared in Qin Hao's hand. A spatial Dharma treasure? Guihai Air Dao's eyes glowed with golden light. Qin Hao actually had a spatial Dharma treasure. Oh my god, this was too exciting. Thank you, Wang Gui's 8 generations of ancestors, for sending Guihai Air Dao to kill Chen Wanqin. Qin Hao gave him a big gift. This left the two sects overjoyed. The thirst on his face was exposed in front of everyone without any concealment. He instantly forgot that he was still holding the seal above his head. He even freed one hand and took the initiative to snatch Qin Hao's spatial ring. However, as soon as he stretched out his hand, Pucci, a blood sword pierced through his palm and ruthlessly stabbed into Guihai Air Dao's heart. At this moment, his incomparably awesome armor, the armor that Guihai Air Dao was extremely proud of, could no longer block the fatal blow for him. The purple meteoric sword pierced through his golden armor like a piece of paper and directly through his body. Qin Hao gripped the weapon tightly and madly ran for more than 20 meters while enduring Guihai Air Dao's attack. Along the way, he broke several large trees. The momentum was terrifying. Finally, he ruthlessly nailed Guihai Air Dao to an old tree as thick as his waist. You trash. Guihai Air Dao stared with bloodshot eyes and wanted to curse. He was greedy for treasures and had flipped the bed in the gutter. He hadn't even had the time to kill Chen Wanqin, yet he had died in the hands of a nobody like Qin Hao. Qin Hao simply did not give him a chance to speak. With a twist of the purple meteoric sword, he crushed Guihai Air Dao's heart and pulled it out. Pucci, a fountain of blood sprayed onto Qin Hao's naked body. At the same time, it also tore off Guihai Air Dao's armor and flung it into the air as if he was peeling off his skin. Guihai Air Dao tightly clutched his bleeding chest. With a plop, he fell at Qin Hao's feet. Even in death, he could not curse out the curse in his throat. This is simply Tiger Cliff and swordsmen's hearts pounded madly. The scene in front of them was too shocking. Qin Hao held the blood sword in his hand. His long hair fluttered in the wind. His upper body was naked. He was like a demon god descending to the world. but his domineering posture, his sweeping posture, was like an invincible emperor. At this moment, the entire volcanic eruption mountain bowed its head to Qin Hao. This is impossible. Killed. Killed Guihai Air Dao. Horse Donkey Eggs was scared out of his wits. Lu Ro tore her hair and screamed like a madwoman. Qin Hao was simply not human. He was a monster who did not care about his life. However, Chen Wanqin smiled. Her smile was like the spring breeze. Even though Qin Hao was covered in blood and looked frightening. But he was unyielding. With his weak strength, he bravely resisted and won Chen Wanqin's admiration. No, it should be said that invisibly, Qin Hao lived in Chen Wanqin's heart. And this figure was no longer the illusory mute. It was the flesh and blood Qin Hao. In front of me, all self-righteous geniuses are ants, including Wang Gui. Qin Hao looked at Guihai Air Dao's corpse and gnashed his teeth in hatred. Wang Gui once again provoked Qin Hao's dignity. Suddenly, shwa shwa, the two balls of yuan qi surged over, cracking the earth and uprooting the trees in the sky. The momentum was incomparably tyrannical. Qin Hao did not even have time to react. Wang, a figure, was the first to land on the battlefield. It was the Fengli Temple's Grand Elder who risked his life by burning his yuan qi to rush over. Chunan, my grandson, an earth-shattering cry sounded. The cry seemed to be able to tear one's heart apart. Chunan saw Chu Sheng lying on the ground. Before Chu Sheng died, he did not leave his body intact. One of his legs was broken. At this moment, Chu Nan was inconsolable and furious. But he had yet to vent his anger. A loud bang was heard. An incomparably thick palm force ruthlessly struck Chu Nan's back, striking until even his flesh sunk in. Chu Nan flew into the distance like a kite with a broken string. Blood spurted out of his mouth without restraint. Kiki, the person who launched the sneak attack, was Elder Guihai, who had chased over. Before Elder Guihai could be proud, he let out a heart-wrenching cry. My son! Chapter 188. To be buried with them. Guihai's two blades were the treasures in the hands of Guihai's old man. They were his flesh and blood, and he had poured his life's work into them. His son was only 19 years old and had already reached the level of a 3-star master. In the entire Jiang Kingdom, he was only second to Wang Gui. Old man Guihai imparted his lifelong skills to his son. He had also paid a huge price to obtain a treasured armor for his son. However, the genius of the generation who rose like a comet, the son of a turtle that Guihai was extremely proud of, had fallen in front of him. Even the invincible armor was torn to shreds by the madman. The old man from Guihai stared at Qin Hao so hard that his eyes were about to bleed. Tiger Cliff and Swordsman were equally shocked. How did that old man Guihai beat Chu Nan so badly? Tiger Cliff felt that since Chu Sheng had rebelled, his grandfather should have rebelled as well. Could it be? Was the Grand Elder a member of the loyal sect? Disciples of Fengli Temple, today is a conspiracy. The Guihai sect has betrayed us and is plotting against us. Old man saw through their evil plan and risked his life to save you. Guihai, that old bastard, has also been severely injured by me. Now, let's work together to kill this thief and protect the dignity of Fengli Temple. Chunin crawled up from the ground, his whole body emitting a monstrous green light. He pointed at the old man Guihai with hatred. Kill! Tiger Cliff and Li Gangpao were so agitated that they rushed forward while howling. But in the blink of an eye, whoosh, the great elder transformed into a streak of light and shot into the air. He used all of the primordial qi he had accumulated to escape. This scene was exactly the same as Horse Donkey Eggs abandoning his junior brother. Chunin was seriously injured. He was beaten half to death by old man Guihai. If he didn't run now, when would he? This made Tiger Cliff and the others feel despair. The majestic great elder had turned into a fleeing grandson in the blink of an eye. Escape? Can you escape? Old man Guihai raised his hand and threw out a black light. Whoosh! This black light was unbelievably fast. It pierced through the sky and entered Chu Nan's abdomen. Chu Nan was like a large bird that had been shot by an arrow, falling from the sky. After landing on the ground, he died instantly. Hiss! The swordsman sucked in a breath of cold air. One move. He had killed a 6-star Yuan master. Today, none of you can escape. All of you will be buried with my son. The old man from Guihai roared at the top of his lungs. He raised his hand and beckoned in the direction of Chu Nan's corpse. Come back. Whoosh. The black light that had entered Chu Nan's abdomen immediately returned to his palm. Tiger Cliff and the others saw it clearly. The black light was a saber, a short saber. Although the blade was short, it was pitch black and filled with murderous intent. The blade was incomparably heavy. It was similar to a butcher's knife. I, Guihai, have an undeserved reputation for my saber. This saber is a superior grade, refined weapon. It has killed countless Yuan master experts and made my enemies tremble in fear. Under the old man's saber, you won't be able to escape even if you have wings. As he spoke, the old man from Guihai glared at Qin Hao as if he wanted to eat him. Qin Hao did not show any fear. His long hair fluttered as he stood upright with his sword in hand. His eyes were filled with curiosity about the butcher's knife. If he guessed correctly, the butcher's knife was similar to the overturning man's seal. It was branded with the owner's mark. As long as the owner was alive, it would be useless even if the weapon was stolen. Back then, when he snatched the overturning man's seal from the old demon of Black Mountain, Dan Xian used his peak strength as a 7-star Yuan master to erase the old demon's mark on the spot. The butcher's knife in Guihai's hand was the same as the overturning man's seal. As long as the person was here, the knife was here. The man was gone, but the knife was still there. Grand Elder, you're finally here. I, Horse Donkey Eggs, fought bravely. I killed 3 disciples of Fengli Temple and was about to take down Chen Wanqin when Qin Hao appeared. This Qin Hao was ridiculously strong. He killed a trash Ding Dafei with a fart. Even the 8th elder. Horse Donkey Egg's face was filled with grief as he spoke. I risked my life to save the 8th elder. I fought with wounds all over my body. I stood in front of the demon. Unfortunately, the 8th elder was too weak. He was stabbed to death by the old demon, Qin Hao, but it doesn't matter. I, Horse Donkey Eggs, am still here. As a core disciple of Guihai sect, I have enough qualifications to be your son. Adoptive father, please accept me as your adopted son. This was Brother Knife's last wish before he died. He wanted me to send you off. If you have any treasures now, hurry and give them to me. For example, this butcher's knife. Horse Donkey Eggs pounced in front of Guihai's old man and hugged his thigh tightly. Guihai's old man looked down at Horse Donkey Eggs. All right, old man will send you to heaven. Pung. A palm fell and shattered Horse Donkey Egg's skull. A core disciple in the 9th layer of element gathering tier was like a pig or a dog that could be slaughtered at will. In the eyes of Guihai's old man, he was worthless. Old man's son is already dead. What's the use of keeping you? Guihai's old man was heartbroken at the loss of his son. It was obvious that he was about to go crazy. Tiger Cliff and the swordsman retreated in shock. Their hearts were about to jump out of their throats. Today, it will be difficult for all of them to escape death. Qin Hao, leave quickly. Don't be stupid for me. It's not worth it. Chen Wanqin came in front of Qin Hao and begged him to leave. Guihai's old man was like a god, pressing down on everyone's heads. One move was enough to rule over everything. Qin Hao was as weak as an ant. He was definitely no match for Guihai's old man. When I killed the giant python, I promised that I would bring you home and cure your cold. Qin Hao's conviction was as firm as a rock. He would definitely not give up on Chen Wanqin. Just take it as a casual remark. There are many men who go back on their words. Leave? Chen Wanqin was extremely panicked. She was afraid that Qin Hao would suffer from Guihai's revenge in the next second. Wang Gui's target was Chen Wanqin alone. The person who should die should be her. Chen Wanqin was already very touched that Qin Hao could protect her until now. If someone could survive, Chen Wanqin hoped that it would be Qin Hao. Qin Hao revealed a tired smile. He gently held Chun Wanqin's hand and stroked her palm with his familiar fingertips. I'm here. Don't be afraid. Fool. Boo-hoo. Chen Wanqin threw herself into Qin Hao's arms and burst into tears. It was as if her lost heart was filled up in an instant. However, this time, it was not the invisible mute. It was Qin Hao, who she held tightly in her arms. You're about to die, yet you're still here in love. You're really envious of old man. Unfortunately, none of you can escape, especially you little bastard. Guihai gnashed his teeth and pointed at Qin Hao. Before the trial, Chunin had said that Qin Hao was not easy to deal with. At that time, Guihai's face was full of disdain. Qin Hao is nothing to worry about. My donkey egg and Dafei can kill him 1,000 times over. In Guihai's eyes, Qin Hao was an insignificant character, a piece of trash that was completely useless. But it was this insignificant character, this piece of trash that was nothing to worry about. He disrupted Guihai's overall plan. Not only did he kill Ding Dafei, but he also wiped out all the elites of the Guihai sect. He even stabbed Guihai's son to death. So far, Chen Wanqin had not lost a single hair. This old man really wished that I could just let out a big fart to kill you at the beginning. Guihai's intestines were green with regret. Unfortunately, there's no medicine for regret in this world. To be honest, I admire your courage to court death one after another. Qin Hao touched Chen Wanqin's little head and motioned for her to stand behind him. Chapter 189. Heaven-splitting Slash the dog spirit was heavily injured and needed time to refine after consuming the spiritual sun fruit. This was also the reason why Qin Hao did not release it when he was fighting with Guihai. At this moment, the dog was barking excitedly. Obviously, the dog spirit had finished refining the spiritual sun fruit. Moreover, Qin Hao could faintly feel that its aura had become stronger. Chen Wanqin thought that she had misheard. Why was there a dog barking coming from Qin Hao's body? You brat, you talk big. Let's see how old man will kill you. Don't worry, I'll leave you for last. After all, you're a good thing. Old man will leave you for last. I'll peel your skin, cut your stomach, and let you taste the taste of this butcher's knife. As he spoke, Guihai's eyes wandered over Tiger Cliff and the others. His eyes flashed as he stared at the swordsman. You're holding my Guihai sect's heavy sword. What qualifications do you have to use my Guihai sect treasure? Die. Guihai casually waved his butcher's knife and swept a strong light towards the swordsman. This casual wave was undoubtedly a disaster in the eyes of the swordsman. He did not even have the chance to escape. He stood there stupidly, staring with frightened eyes as death approached him. Clang! Qin Hao used the water wind step to block the attack. The purple meteorite sword firmly blocked the attack and shook off Guihai's knife light. Suddenly, the web between his thumb and forefinger cracked. His feet slid on the ground, leaving a 2-meter-long mark. The purple meteorite sword was a low-grade weapon. Although it shook off Guihai's knife light, it was still very weak. After all, Guihai's vitality was very strong. Master Wu Wu. In an instant, the swordsman was moved to tears. Old man Guihai was taken aback. Good lad, you're rather fast. From the looks of it, it wasn't a fluke that Dower died at your hands. However, I want to see if you're faster or if I'm faster. As he spoke, Guihai swept his knife light towards Tiger Cliff again. He wanted to torture Qin Hao and make Qin Hao exhausted. Instantly, Tiger Cliff also stared with his toad eyes, stunned. Facing a 7-star Grand Yuan Master's attack, he had no chance of escaping. Go! Qin Hao raised his hand and threw Flipping Man's seal. The big seal fell from above, like a huge boulder blocking in front of the tiger wall. Clang! A ball of fire exploded. Old man Guihai's attack was obstructed by Qin Hao again. This made old Guihai, old man old. But in an instant, his eyes lit up again. Looking at the Flipping Man seal that had turned into a huge rock, old Guihai was extremely hungry. His face was as bright as a blooming chrysanthemum. Good treasure, I didn't expect you to have so many trump cards. No wonder you could kill Dower. You didn't rely on luck or fluke, but your true strength. Old Guihai felt that his son's death was not unjust. Qin Hao had countless trump cards and seemed to have unlimited potential. The blood sword and the seal were also a reflection of his strength. That's not all. Old man, don't waste your time. As long as I don't die, you can't touch a single hair of my junior brothers. Look at what this is. Qin Hao raised his left hand and purposely let the interspatial ring shine. He had to attract old Guihai's attention and shift the danger to himself. Only then would Chen Wanqin and the swordsman be safe. Interspatial artifact? Old Guihai's eyes widened. His heart was beating rapidly. He was so excited that he was about to suffocate. Qin Hao had an interspatial artifact in his hand. It was something that only the sect masters were qualified to have. Old Guihai's eyes became extremely greedy. Disgusting saliva flowed out of the corner of his mouth. Qin Hao had successfully attracted his attention. I wanted to leave you for last, but you don't know what's good for you. Fine. Old man will be a good person to the end and let you die early. Give me the interspatial ring. Old Guihai jumped up. Like an old lunatic, he jumped on top of Qin Hao's head and reached out his withered hand to snatch the interspatial ring. He was a 7-star Grand Yuan Master. He was very powerful. Qin Hao was trash. He didn't care about Qin Hao. He didn't even need to attack. Just his aura was enough to suppress Qin Hao. In fact, it was indeed so. The monstrous pressure coming from above his head was 100 times stronger than when the muscular elder threatened Qin Hao. Qin Hao lost his balance and knelt down on one knee. Cracking sounds could be heard from his bones. Chen Wanqin's heart was about to break. She opened her arms and stood in front of Qin Hao with a face full of tears. If she died, let her die then. How could Qin Hao let her die? He reached out and pulled Chen Wanqin into his arms. Then, he reached out his left hand to old Guihai. Old Guihai was pleasantly surprised. Qin Hao still had some self-awareness. He knew that resistance was useless. Obediently handing over the interspatial ring must be to die a quick death. Old man Guihai had such wishful thinking. However, it wasn't what he imagined. Roar. An earth-shattering roar of a wild beast. What greeted old Guihai wasn't the interspatial ring at all. Instead, it was a huge dog with its bloody mouth wide open. This huge dog was extremely muscular. It was 3 meters long and covered in brown fur. It was like a lion coming to devour. The aura on its body was monstrous. This wasn't a simple dog. It was a dog spirit with the strength of a 5th-stage Xian beast. This dog spirit was as powerful as a 5-star Yuan Master. Moreover, it suddenly jumped out. Old Guihai even took the initiative to extend an arm. He didn't even defend himself. Splat! The dog spirit crashed into old Guihai and swallowed between his legs with its bloody mouth. He didn't know why the dog spirit had to bite this part. In fact, Qin Hao was also very curious. This was because every time they encountered an expert in the future, they would be the strongest of the strongest. The dog spirit's lower jaw would always be between the enemy's legs. This probably had something to do with it eating the indecent part of the old demon of the Black Mountain. At this moment, a shrill scream tore through the sky. Old Guihai's vocal cords instantly became hoarse. He could clearly feel the male part of his body being swallowed by this dog spirit. He screamed at the top of his lungs and gripped his pig slaughtering knife tightly. Without any hesitation, he chopped at the dog spirit's head. This dog spirit should be cut into 1,000 pieces. However, at this moment, an even more heart-palpitating fear attacked him. Qin Hao surged his primordial qi and floated in midair. He raised his blood sword high above his head. His primordial qi was unprecedentedly powerful. Qin Hao ate the primordial strengthening pill. The pill that could temporarily double one's attack power was a life-saving trump card given to him by Xiandan. In an instant, a shocking sword aura wreaked havoc. The entire volcanic eruption mountain was covered in dark clouds. The blood sword in Qin Hao's hand turned even redder. It was as though blood could drip out. Buzz! A green aura enveloped Qin Hao's body. With the help of the primordial strengthening pill, he successfully broke through the Yuan Master realm and became a 1-star Yuan Master. Qin Hao's one-star Yuan Master wasn't an ordinary one-star Yuan Master. His combat power was comparable to a 3-star Yuan Master. In addition, the primordial strengthening pill doubled his attack power. The power of this sword had reached the level of a 6-star Yuan Master. Not only that, the sword aura was activated by the low-grade lethal weapon, Purple Meteorite Sword. Imperceptibly, the attack became sharper and its power rose to the level of a 7-star Yuan Master. This sword was enough to deal a fatal blow to old Guihai. This sword was Qin Hao's strongest sword to date. This sword even gathered the fire elemental energy of the Red Lotus Fire. In an instant, the blood sword in Qin Hao's hand was blazing with flames. The sword's body was spitting out tongues of fire. Chapter 190. Zhan Wu Prayer Conference, Red Lotus Explosive Flame Blade. A wave of fire more than 10 meters long slashed down from the sky, as if it was burning the entire sky. Almost as soon as Qin Hao left his hand, the flame cut landed on Guihai's head. How could old man Guihai care about the dog spirit? How could he care about what the dog spirit had eaten from him? He mustered all his strength and raised the pig's slaughtering knife above his head. Crack! In a single exchange, the saber broke. The wave of fire severed Guihai's forearm and rolled along his severed arm to his entire body. In the nick of time, the old man Guihai grabbed the dog spirit by its neck and threw it far away, cutting off its arm with one palm. With a hoarse howl, he fled into the distance for his life. Qin Hao, you little bastard! How dare you make an enemy out of Wang Gui? Just wait for your entire clan to be annihilated. In the distance, mournful curses reverberated in the sky, rolling endlessly. There's no need for Wang Gui to look for me. I'll be waiting for him at the Four-Nation Martial Arts Tournament. Qin Hao roared. The Four-Nation Martial Arts Tournament was set. Not only did they have to fight, but they also had to win the championship and snatch Wang Gui's spot to enter the 4 great academies. Wasn't he awesome? Let's see who's more awesome. Wasn't the king turtle very strong? Let's see who's stronger. The world regards me as a floating ant, but I am an ant that can lift an elephant. What is supremacy? What is inferiority? What was noble? What was cheap? Life was not in the hands of others, nor was it determined by the heavens. However, this old man Guihai was really ruthless. In order to survive, he didn't hesitate to cut off his arm. The effect of the origin strengthening pill had already worn off, and Qin Hao was powerless to chase after them. Roar! The dog spirit raised its head and howled. It was unknown whether he was mocking the old man Guihai, who was running away. They were still cheering for Qin Hao's victory. However, it was obvious that after it ate old man Guihai's indecent object, its aura seemed to have grown stronger. Oh my God, is he still human? Tiger Cliff and Swordsman looked at Qin Hao's floating figure and couldn't help but want to kowtow. Venerated shadow of the vast sky, none of the remaining evildoers will survive. As long as the heavenly Tao exists, the noble spirit will exist forever. This steel cannon cannot compare to such bravery. Li Gangpao put his hands behind his back and sighed in shame. Qin Hao stood in the air like a god of war, exuding the aura of an emperor. Under this aura, even Chen Wanqin was stunned. Her beautiful eyes stared at Qin Hao without blinking. Qin Hao had killed Ding Dafei with a casual point of his finger. With a swing of his sword, he had wiped out all the elite disciples of the Guihai sect. Even a peerless genius like Guihai Erdao was killed by Qin Hao. Even the powerful 7-star Yuan Master, the high and mighty Grand Elder of the Guihai sect, had lost an arm in a panic in front of Qin Hao and fled at the sight of him. He didn't even have the courage to collect his son's corpse. Just like that, he fled. Qin Hao had shocked Chen Wanqin's soul. She felt that the image of the gentle mute in her heart was becoming more and more blurred. Instead, Qin Hao's domineering figure was firmly rooted in her heart. Only now did Chen Wanqin truly see Qin Hao. Perhaps the current Qin Hao was the most genuine side of him. Kill. Kill to your heart's content. Anyway, I can't stay in the Fengli Temple any longer. I have to say, the more despicable a person is, the more likely they are to survive. I'm really too smart. Lu Rose smiled miserably and ran out without looking back. Qin Hao was simply a demon. He had killed so many people, but he didn't even frown. He could even control the terrifying Xian beast, dog spirit. Fortunately, he was exhausted and began to regulate his breathing and meditate. Fortunately, he didn't notice the fleeing Lu Ro. No matter what, Lu Ro had survived until now. Even if Ding Dafei died, Horse Donkey Eggs died, and Guihai's second blade died, she, Lu Ro, was still alive and well. So, what was the use of being a genius? It was better to be a despicable person. Roar! A huge black shadow flashed in front of her eyes. Lu Ro saw a majestic, multicolored tiger with a woman in its mouth. The woman was wearing the same clothes as Lu Ro. At this moment, Lu Ro lost all signs of life, and her head rolled into a smelly ditch. She only cared about running for her life and forgot where she was. This was the most terrifying, explosive flame mountain range in Jiang country. Not only was there the terrifying Qin Hao, but there were also ferocious beasts, Xian beast, and even sacred beasts. This multicolored tiger had reached the 9th tier. Its battle prowess was comparable to the 9th tier of element gathering tier. It looked at Qin Hao with fear, especially when it saw the dog spirit. It was so scared that its whole body trembled, and it ran into the forest with Lu Ro's body in its mouth. Qin Hao regulated his breathing and meditated, using the indestructible samsara technique. The dog spirit squatted beside him, guarding him. From a moment he stepped into the explosive flame mountain range. Qin Hao didn't have a chance to breathe. Whether it was saving the dog spirit, or killing the giant python, or wiping out all the disciples of the Guihai sect, it could be said that he turned the tide and saved everyone with his own strength. At the same time, he also defeated the power of a sect of the Guihai sect. In this trial, the Guihai sect suffered heavy losses. 2 core disciples and an elite disciple were wiped out. The genius Guihai's second blade also died at the hands of Qin Hao. It was likely that the Guihai sect would never recover from this setback. Chen Wanqin looked at Qin Hao quietly. She didn't dare to move forward. In front of her was a dog spirit that was as fierce as a 5-star master. The dog spirit swallowed the spirit sun fruit. Not only did it recover from its injuries, but it also broke through to the next tier. What made Chen Wanqin even more surprised was that it was subdued by Qin Hao. What a miraculous man, Chen Wanqin said with a slight smile. See, eldest senior sister is in heat. Beauties can't resist heroes. Senior brother Qin Hao is as strong as a monster. It's reasonable that eldest senior sister is thirsty for him. The swordsman, Tiger Cliff, and Li Gang Pao spontaneously walked away. They wouldn't be third wheels. Especially the dog spirit's eyes, which were looking between their legs with ill intentions. This made Tiger Cliff and the swordsman shudder. They saw with their own eyes that the dog spirit swallowed Guihai's indecent thing. It even tore off a layer of bloody skin from the old man's lower abdomen. Although the medicinal effect of the origin strengthening pill had passed, Qin Hao's cultivation as a 1-star origin master didn't regress. At this moment, he was stabilizing his cultivation and practicing the qi condensation art. His qi condensation art was still at the 5th tier of the origin gathering art. If he was at the 9th tier, Qin Hao would be able to kill Guihai without the help of the purple meteorite sword and the flipping person seal. 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours. Time gradually passed by. Qin Hao was focused on his cultivation, and the dog spirit followed closely behind. Chen Wanqin was also quietly watching him, until 2 surging lights broke the silence. Chen King and Dan Xian had finally arrived. In fact, when Guihai's 2 slashes appeared, Chen Wanqin had secretly crushed the Jade Scroll. It was just that Heaven's Wall City was too far away from explosive volcano. Chen King and Dan Xian were still late. Even so, they only took half a day to reach explosive volcano. It was obvious that they were much stronger than Chunan. The huge pressure they created when they arrived made Qin Hao suspect that Chun Kang was a master who had hidden his strength. Looking at the broken pig, slaughtering knife and armor on the ground, Qin Hao waved his hand and swept them into his spatial ring. He put his arm on Chun Wanqin's shoulder and said, "Let's go home." Chapter 191. 6 Transformations, Origin Spirit Pill Phoenix Glass Hall. Small Phoenix House. Small Phoenix House was Chun Wanqin's private residence. Inside the room, Chun Wanqin sat cross-legged on the bed, wearing a light veil. Her face was flushed red, making her look shy and charming. Behind her, Qin Hao's body was emitting fire energy. His eyes were closed, and his palms were pressed on Chun Wanqin's back, concentrating on removing her cold disease. Qin Hao's palms were like 2 red-hot soldering irons, with wisps of white gas coming out from his palms. As the fire energy continued to enter her body, the blush on Chun Wanqin's cheeks became even more charming. Her sweat soaked through the veil, making her whole body feel comfortable. The dog spirit was lying at the door, rolling its eyes, looking at Chun Kang like an idiot. Especially its eyes, which were staring at Chun Kang's crotch, as if it was considering where to start. Chun Kang paced back and forth in front of the door, as anxious as an ant on a hot pan. Could Qin Hao cure his daughter? Could he really do it? The cold disease was so troublesome. It had troubled her for a whole 17 years. What if he failed? What if Qin Hao couldn't hold on? Chun Kang became more anxious the more he thought about it. He wanted nothing more than to rush into the room and check it out. But the dog spirit was lying at the door, staring at his crotch. This made Chun Kang's hair stand on end. The storm of the trial had temporarily stopped. At present, Chun Kang really couldn't do anything to the Guihai sect. But this grudge had been formed, and it had been formed to the bone. The Guihai sect mobilized 2 elders, 2 core disciples, and 10 intersect elites in a futile attempt to get rid of Chun Kang's daughter. Luckily, these blind fools were all killed by Qin Hao. The Guihai sect went for wool and came home shorn, suffering such heavy losses. They definitely wouldn't be able to make a comeback within 10 years. It had to be said that Xiao Hao was really fierce. Uncle Xian didn't misjudge him. Chun Kang decided to encourage Qin Hao to participate in the 4-nation martial arts tournament. He must give the Guihai sect a few slaps in the face. Especially that Wang Gui, he must step on his head. Didn't the Guihai sect worship Wang Gui as their holy son? In that case, I will respect Qin Hao as the Saint King. I must suppress Wang Gui. Chun Kang was now anxious and angry. Why hadn't Qin Hao come out yet? What if his beastly nature flared up and he took the opportunity to molest his daughter? He saved his daughter's life. Should Xiaowan cooperate with him and struggle a little, or should she just give in to him? Aya, I'm going to die of anxiety. Done. Qin Hao withdrew his hand and wiped the sweat off his forehead. Stepping into the Origin Master realm was indeed extraordinary. He remembered the first time he suppressed Chun Wanqin's cold disease. Qin Hao, who was in the first layer of element gathering tier, almost fainted. Now that the cold disease had been completely eradicated, Qin Hao didn't suffer any loss. The Origin Master realm was indeed a qualitative improvement. That's it. Chun Wanqin's eyes widened. She pulled her clothes with her small hand and put them on. Her movements were as smooth as flowing water. You don't believe me? Qin Hao is a little dissatisfied. I've completely eradicated your cold disease and repaired your damaged meridians with warm fire. Moreover, it will never recur. In the future, you can use frost arts however you want. You can freeze whoever you want into a popsicle. No, I'm just thinking. Chun Wanqin felt like she was dreaming. The cold disease that had troubled her for a whole 17 years was so unbearable under Qin Hao's hands. Qin Hao is really too miraculous. I still have something to do. I have to go to Pill Mountain. Qin Hao turned and was about to leave. Since he had decided to participate in the 4-nation martial arts tournament, he had to increase his strength a little. He wanted to refine an elixir, the 6th Transformation Origin Spirit Elixir. After taking the 6th Transformation Origin Spirit Elixir, Qin Hao was confident that he could directly become a 3-star Origin Master. However, with his current ability, it was almost impossible to refine this elixir. Therefore, he had to find Dan Xian. You really plan to participate in the martial arts tournament? Chen Wanqin was a little worried. The four-nation martial arts tournament was extremely cruel. On the arena, all the geniuses came out. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that there were many experts like Guihai's two blades. Guihai's two blades was only one of Wang Gui's henchmen. Qin Hao had a hard time defeating Guihai's two blades. Yet, he still wanted to fight with Wang Gui. It was indeed like an egg hitting a rock. In addition to her worry, Chen Wanqin also had a trace of joy. Fengli Temple and Xingyue Academy had 100 years of friendship. If there were no accidents, even if Chen Wanqin didn't participate in the martial arts tournament, it was very likely that she would get a place to go to the Luoshui Empire. After all, her physique was extraordinary. If Qin Hao could fight his way out of the encirclement, suppress the other heroes, and become the champion, at that time, he could go to the Luoshui Empire with Chen Wanqin. If you want to fight, I'll go find the old man first. Qin Hao's answer was very direct. Wait for me. Chen Wanqin hurriedly put on her clothes. She was very clingy to Qin Hao now and didn't want to be separated for even a moment. Xiao Hao, you finally came out. You didn't do anything to my daughter, right? Did you touch her? How's her cold treatment? Does she need to go through another treatment to consolidate it? Chun Kang said anxiously. Ask Xiao Wan. Qin Hao stepped out of the courtyard. Chun Kang hurriedly grabbed Chen Wanqin. Xiao Wan, how are you feeling? Is your cold treatment cured? Do you need to let Qin Hao consolidate it? What cold treatment? Hurry up and get out of my way. Chen Wanqin pushed Chun Kang away and chased after Qin Hao. Woof woof. Roar. The dog spirit happily followed behind the two of them. Whoosh. A gust of cold wind blew. Chun Kang was alone in the wind. My cold treatment is gone? The cold treatment that had troubled me for 17 years, and even Uncle Xian couldn't cure me. It's gone just like that? How can it be gone just like that? Hurry up and get my cold treatment back for me. Pill Mountain. White smoke rose in spirals. It was like a paradise. At this moment, on the third floor of the pill hall, Xiao Han's body was shining with a green flame aura. Her aura was extremely strong. Her hair fluttered slightly behind her head. Her eyes flashed with a sharp light from time to time. It was frightening. She was like an inviolable empress. Under the surging energy of the jade pendant, Xiao Han had reached the peak of a 5-star Yuan master. She was almost going crazy from cultivating. Moreover, it seemed like she could break through to a 6-star Yuan master at any time. Old man, Qin Hao's voice could be heard. Xiao Han immediately retracted her aura and stopped cultivating. Her face was filled with joy. She hadn't seen Qin Hao for a long time. She looked down through the window. When she saw Chen Wanqin beside Qin Hao, she couldn't help but feel bitter. In the alchemy room, Dan Xian was studying alchemy. What's wrong? Do you need something from me? Dan Xian asked. I'll give you a prescription. Refined pills for me. Qin Hao handed the prescription of the 6 revolving origin spirit pill to Dan Xian. Dan Xian took a look and frowned. The process is so troublesome? It's so troublesome. What grade is this pill? 3rd grade, Qin Hao said indifferently. Crack. Dan Xian stood on the spot in shock, revealing a bitter expression. Qin Hao said it so casually. The moment he opened his mouth, he asked him to refine a 3rd grade pill. Moreover, it was a 6 revolving origin spirit pill. Dan Xian was only a 2nd grade alchemist. This was beyond his ability. Don't say that you can't do it. You can even make the Yuan strengthening pill. A 6 revolving origin spirit pill is definitely not a problem. Moreover, you seem to be hiding something from me, Qin Hao said with a straight face. Yesterday, when Dan Xian and Chun Kang rushed to a erupting volcano, the origin spirit pill caused the earth to rumble. From afar, Qin Hao saw a ball of blue origin spirit pill flying over from the sky. Blue origin spirit pill was the symbol of the Yuan ancestor realm. It was extremely powerful. When he landed, the blue origin chi immediately turned into the green origin master realm. However, how could it hide from Qin Hao's eyes? This meant that either Chun Kang was origin ancestor or the old man Dan Xian was origin ancestor. Chapter 192. Tang Fei returns this pill. I will refine it for you. Pill Profound struggled for a moment before nodding in agreement. However, he avoided talking about the blue primordial chi. In reality, refining a 6 revolutions origin spirit pill was extremely troublesome and harsh. First of all, this was a 3rd-grade pill. It was beyond the ability of a 2nd-grade alchemist. Moreover, he needed to be at the 6th transformation. As the name implied, this pill had to be refined 6 times before it could take shape. The first step was to refine the origin spirit pill, even if it was a trashy origin spirit pill. Then, he started to refine it for the first time. He refined it a 2nd time. Repeated refinement. He had to refine it 6 times before he could reach the 6th revolution. This was a serious test of an alchemist's ability to control fire, and it consumed a lot of mental energy. Furthermore, it also tested the strength of one's vitality. If his vitality was unable to support it, even if the refinement failed once, the pill would immediately explode. I don't expect you to concoct a supreme grade 6 transformation pill. Even if it's a low-grade pill, it will be enough. As Dendi, no one knew better than Qin how difficult it was to refine a 6 revolution pill. Even if I have to risk my old life, I will at least refine a high-grade 6 revolving origin spirit pill for you. After all, I am your master. Dan Xian revealed a bitter smile, but his gaze was firm. In fact, ever since he accepted Qin Hao as his disciple, he had not done anything meaningful for his disciple. Qin Hao relied on his own hard work, and in a short half a month's time, he advanced from the 5th layer of element gathering tier to a 1-star Yuan master. This was undoubtedly a slap to Dan Xian's face. However, this slap caused Dan Xian to feel incomparably proud. Thank you for your hard work. Qin Hao sighed again. Wang Gui had awakened the Black Tortoise bloodline, and his physique was no weaker than Chen Wanqin and Xiaogua. Although his strength was the same as Guohai's Air Dao, he was also a 3-star standard. However, Qin Hao knew that Wang Gui's 3-star cultivation could basically crush a 6-star or even a 7-star Great Yuan Master. The martial arts competition was truly arduous, but they had to fight. Wang Gui seduced Tang Fei and tried to make Qin Hao a cuckold. No man could tolerate it. Moreover, Wang Gui was the son of the pillar of the State General. He only allowed himself to eat *T and not others to fart. He had already awakened the Black Tortoise bloodline, but he still wouldn't allow Chen Wanqin, the ice spirit body, to exist. So tyrannical, Qin Hao just couldn't stand it. He wanted to see how hard this turtle shell was. Eldest senior brother, this is bad. Your family is looking for you. While they were talking, the swordsman's shouts came from outside the palace. Qin Hao was stunned. This was Elixir Peak. Under normal circumstances, no one would dare to take a single step in. The swordsman dared to ignore Dan Xian's authority and barge in. Obviously, the situation was extremely serious. Qin Hao stepped out of the alchemy room and returned to the main hall. Immediately, he saw a familiar figure. Young master, please save 4th master. Qin Liao's face was bruised and swollen as he knelt in front of Qin Hao. His injuries were extremely serious. What happened? Qin Hao immediately took out healing medicine and fed it to Qin Liao. Tang Fei, no. Princess Zhaoyang is back. She ordered people to tear down our medicine shop and injured 4th master and Zhuomaqiang. She even stole 4th master's sledgehammer. She said that if you don't show up, she will burn down our shop and forbid the Qin family from ever stepping into Heaven's Wall City. Qin Liao cried. Crack! Qin Hao smashed the table into smithereens. He was furious. Good timing. Qin Hao hadn't gone to find Tang Fei yet, but she had come to provoke them first. The moment she returned, she ordered people to tear down the Qin family's medicine shop and injured 4th Master Qin and Zhuomaqiang. Not only that, she even said that no one from the Qin family was allowed to step into the city. This was an undisguised humiliation and trampling on Qin Hao. After young master beat up Zhou Go, he exposed the scandal of Tang Fei and Wang Gui. The scandal caused a stir in the city and even spread to the imperial city thousands of miles away. After Tang Fei heard about it, she flew into a rage and immediately rushed back to the Tang mansion. Qin Liao explained. Tang Fei came back 3 days ago. She directly injured 4th Master Qin. 4th Master Qin was afraid of the Tang mansion's power and was even more afraid that Tang Fei would kill Qin Hao. Therefore, he forbade the Qin family's servants from looking for Qin Hao. As long as Qin Hao stayed obediently in Fengli Temple, Tang Fei wouldn't have a chance to do anything. Today, 4th Master Qin was preparing to sell his medicine shop and return to Akita town. He really couldn't afford to offend the Tang mansion. Qin Liao couldn't stand it anymore and came to Fengli Temple to look for Qin Hao. In the hearts of the disciples of Fengli Temple, Qin Hao was as noble as the Holy King. Immediately, the news spread from the outer sect to the inner sect, and then from the inner sect to the inner sect. The swordsman brought Qin Liao directly to Elixir Peak. He didn't want to waste any time. That's what happened. Tang Fei, she's too hateful. That Zogo even choked 4th Master Qin and spat on his face. Qin Liao was filled with grief and indignation. Where's Hai Dafu? I gave him 500,000 taels of gold. Qin Hao roared. Master Hai left 5 days ago, and so did 6th Master. Qin Liao continued. Originally, the Qin family's medicine shop had 6th Master, so the Tang mansion didn't dare to be arrogant. Unfortunately, Hai Dafu seemed to have some urgent business and left Heaven's Wall City with 6th Master 5 days ago. However, he left behind a group of men of sacrifice to protect 4th Master Qin. Those 10 men of steel died tragically. They were beaten to death by Tang Fei. Qin Liao wanted to cry when he said this. Those men of sacrifice were truly men of sacrifice. They didn't fear Tang Fei at all. In the end, they died tragically in order to protect the Qin family. Hearing this, Qin Hao clenched his fists so tightly that they made creaking sounds. In fact, he couldn't blame Hai Dafu for this. He had already done his best, and a group of loyal subordinates had also died. Swordsman, call Tiger Cliff and Steel Cannon and come with me. Qin Hao roared, turned around, and stepped out of the hall. Wait! Dan Xian grabbed Qin Hao's wrist. Don't get angry after you go there. Give me 2 hours. I need to wait for someone. In other words, Dan Xian wouldn't go with Qin Hao. He needed to receive an important guest. Don't worry about refining the origin spirit pill. I could do it myself. Qin Hao circulated the art of indestructible samsara and raised his condensing chi technique to the 9th level. When he released his aura, he was as powerful as a 3-star Yuan master. When Qin Hao went over this time, he would definitely kill anyone who stood in his way. I'll go with you. When Chun Wanqin saw this, she quickly chased after Qin Hao. The Tang residents had many experts. Qin Hao would definitely be at a disadvantage if he acted righteously. Moreover, Tang Fei was given the title of Princess Zhaoyang. She wasn't someone to be trifled with. Dan Xian looked at Qin Hao's back as he left. His old eyes flashed with ruthlessness. He gritted his teeth and said in a low voice, What an arrogant Tang residence. What an arrogant princess, Zhaoyang. She really doesn't take this old man seriously. Old man has endured for so long. It's time for him to come out and shake this broken Jiang country. When he finished speaking, wisps of blue energy swam around Dan Xian's body. He was a Grandmaster Yuan who had hidden his strength, the one and only Grandmaster Yuan in the entire Jiang country. Dan Xian's intention was obvious. If the Tang residence was obedient, he could pretend that nothing had happened. If Qin Hao lost even half a strand of his hair, then even if the emperor came, he would not be able to stop Dan Xian from killing him. Drunkard, why isn't your grandson here yet? Dan Xian was also very anxious. He was waiting for Drunkard. Chapter 193. Smash your legs outside. Giddy up. 6 horses galloped towards the Heaven's Wall City. It attracted the attention of many disciples. The disciples didn't know who had offended senior brother Holy King. They only knew that Qin Hao was going to turn the sky upside down this time. At this moment, a beautiful figure stealthily avoided the disciples' line of sight and dashed down the mountain along the plank road. Xiaohan secretly followed behind Qin Hao with her exquisite movements. Xiaohan heard the news of Tang Fei's return. She didn't know why Qin Hao didn't bring her along, but she still chased after him without hesitation, even if she had to walk. Half an hour later, Qin Hao arrived at the entrance of the Tang residence. The Tang residence is a precious place. Unauthorized people are not allowed to enter. Just like last time, he was stopped by 6 lackeys. But this time, they weren't from the military. 1 slap, 2 scattered palms. Big rivers soared from the heavens. Have a taste of Ben Gang Pao's godly legs. Why don't you eat my entire furnace? Wang tied in, grabbed the furnace, and smashed it on one of the lackeys' face. The other party's eyes rolled back, and he fainted. In just one exchange, the person who stopped Qin Hao was beaten to the ground by Tiger Cliff and the swordsman. Immediately, it caused panic among the passers-by. Half a month ago, the Tang residence was smashed by someone. Now it was smashed again. When did this gold-plated Tang residence become so easy to be smashed by anyone? Moreover, it seemed that the person who did it was a disciple of the Fengli Temple. Yes, today was a rare big show. Immediately, the entrance of the Tang residence was filled with people. Qin Hao was filled with anger. Before he could step into the residence, he was stopped by Qin Laosi. Qin Laosi had just sold his house and was about to return to the countryside when he realized that Qin Liao was missing. He must have gone to the Fengli Temple to find Qin Hao. Therefore, Qin Laosi had been waiting here for a long time. He would never allow Qin Hao to put himself in danger. What surprised Qin Laosi was that the Fengli Temple disciples that Qin Hao brought over were too fierce. In the blink of an eye, they defeated the guards of Tang Mansion. However, don't be angry. Qin Laosi pulled Qin Hao back. The sledgehammer that always accompanied him was gone, and there was a fist-sized bump on his forehead. It was obvious that he had been beaten up. Her arm was still wrapped in gauze. "Young master, it's all because of my incompetence." Zhuo Junshin knelt before Qin Hao. There were many wounds on his body. Just like Qin Laosi, his scimitar was also taken away by the Tang family. Qin Hao suppressed his anger and said coldly, "This is not your fault. You did your best." Hai Dafu's men of sacrifice did not stop Tang Fei. Moreover, it was Zhuo Junshin. However, this Tang Fei was really hateful. After beating people up, she still wanted to take away the weapon. However, follow Uncle C home. We will never come here again. Oh, Boss Kai, this is the title deed for the pharmacy. The Qin family's pharmacy is yours now. While holding Qin Hao back, Qin Laosi handed the title deed to a fat man with a donkey face beside him. The location of the pharmacy was very good. The rich and overbearing donkey face took a fancy to it and paid for it. Swish! Before the fat man could take the title deed, Qin Hao snatched it away and tore it into pieces. He threw the pieces into the air. You little bastard. You tore my title deed. I'll kill you." The fat man with a donkey face rushed toward Qin Hao while crying for his parents. Scram! Qin Hao shouted, and the fat man fell to the ground. He threw a stack of banknotes at the fat man's face. "Is this enough compensation?" Enough. Thank you, honorable young master." The fat man with a donkey face was overjoyed. Qin Hao gave him quite a lot of banknotes. 100,000 taels. This was a huge profit. "However, why do you have to do this? We can't afford to offend the Tang family." Qin Laosi felt powerless. A tree lives with a layer of bark. Even if we can't afford to offend them, we still have to do it. Get out of the way. Even the King of Heaven could not stop Qin Hao. He pushed Qin Laosi aside and stepped in. As soon as he stepped in, he saw a familiar figure. It was the proud Zogo. Zogo was holding Qin Laosi's sledgehammer. Without a doubt, this sledgehammer was snatched by him. At this moment, Zogo was in a good mood. He had obtained a powerful weapon. With such a big commotion outside, as the butler of Red Mountain Courtyard, Zogo had to come out and take a look. "Good. It's you again, you little bastard. You really dare to come. You must have eaten a bear's heart and leopard's guts. Eat my sledgehammer first." When Zogo saw Qin Hao, it was as if he had gone crazy. At that time, Qin had slapped him hundreds of times in public in front of the honorable Tang family. This was the biggest shame in Zogo's life. What was even more humiliating was that Qin Hao had colluded with Hai Dafu to let Laosi destroy Zogo's family jewels. Since then, Zogo had become a eunuch who could not enjoy the taste of women. This enmity was simply irreconcilable. Slap! Before he could smash the sledgehammer in front of Qin Hao, he was slapped in the face by Qin Hao. There was a burning pain on his face. Zogo was stunned. He was slapped in the face by Qin Hao again. In an instant, his face was distorted as if he had eaten feces. His eyes were bloodshot. Slap! Another slap. Slap! The third slap. While Zogo was not paying attention, Qin Hao raised his hand and slapped him 3 times. I'll kill you. Zogo was filled with hatred and humiliation. He was simply too ashamed to live. He was slapped by Qin Hao again and again, in front of everyone's eyes, in front of the noble Tang mansion. Immediately, the sledgehammer in his hand mercilessly smashed towards Qin Hao's head. He was no longer afraid of Qin Hao's flipping person seal, because Zogo had the sledgehammer in his hand and Princess Zhaoyan behind him. Slap! Zogo's sledgehammer had not yet landed. Qin Hao once again slapped Zogo's face with a speed that was 5 times faster than before. This slap caused a torrential amount of yuan qi, sending Zogo flying 7 or 8 meters into the air. He crashed heavily into the courtyard of Tang Manor, causing the maidservants to scream in fright. Zogo could no longer hold the sledgehammer in his hand and threw it into the air. Qin Hao raised his hand and caught the sledgehammer. He rushed forward and aimed it at Zogo's knee. Crack! When the sledgehammer landed, Zogo let out a heart-wrenching howl. His face was distorted and his knee was smashed into a meat patty. This sledgehammer, you don't have the right to use it. After saying that, Qin Hao threw the sledgehammer behind him. Zhou Junshun quickly caught it and handed it back to Qin Laosi. Qin Laosi stood there dumbly with tears of gratitude in his eyes. He wanted to say, as expected of Hao, unfortunately, so what if he took back the sledgehammer? In this lofty Tang family, Qin Hao was just a weak ant. Qin Hao, you big piece of trash. How dare you break my divine leg? Guards, kill him for me. Zogo's face twisted in pain as he howled hoarsely. In an instant, a large number of Tang family's guards rushed over. Without any explanation, they drew their swords and slashed at Qin Hao. A lowly commoner who dared to barge into a rich family's residence deserved to be hacked to death. There was no need for a reason. Scram! Qin Hao raised his hand and swept it across. In an instant, over 20 figures were sent flying while vomiting blood. One strike, he defeated the Tang family's elite guards. This scene caused Qin Laosi's heart to tremble. These guards were at least in the 5th layer of element gathering tier, not to mention over 20 of them attacking together. They couldn't even block a single strike from Qin Hao. How long had it been? Hao's strength had increased again. His strength was simply too outrageous. As if seeing the confusion on Qin Laosi's face, Tiger Cliff clicked his tongue and chuckled. A mere element gathering tier martial artist was nothing. Even a top-notch genius like Guihai Air Dao was stabbed to death by senior Qin Hao. Even the old man Guihai, a 7-star great Yuan master, had one his arms chopped off by Qin Hao and had to flee in panic. These fellows from Tang family were really ignorant. They defended the very person they shouldn't have offended in Fengli Temple. Chapter 194. Have a great poetic passion. Who dares to cause trouble in my Tang residence? An old man rushed out in a hurry. He walked like a dragon or a tiger, and his aura was as heavy as a mountain. Just a casual glance would cause others to feel fear, and an imposing aura spread out without being angry. Master, you came at the right time. He is Qin Hao, that rotten brat of Qin Hao. That little bastard Qin Hao slapped my handsome face and even snatched my divine hammer. He simply doesn't put you in his eyes. Quickly go and bite him to death. Zogo limped to the old man's feet and pointed at Qin Hao while screaming at the top of his lungs. This old man was Zogo's master, the master of the Red Mountain Courtyard, and the second elder of the Tang residence, Tang Kun. Back then, He was the one who had obstructed Qin Hao's parents' marriage. It was also him who framed Qin Hao's parents and forced Tang Rong to be kicked out of the family. It was him again, forcing Qin Hao to eliminate Qin Dingtian. He was the one who spat on Qin Hao's grandfather's head in eternal humiliation. Plus, he had forced the Blood Kirin's parents to commit suicide. He had forced the Blood Kirin to live on the streets from a young age. Starving and cold, the Blood Kirin had become a cruel killer. Zogo's shouts shook the heavens and earth. His voice was incomparably mournful. Tang Kun, the old thief, was immediately alerted and came out. Zogo was Tang Kun's lackey. Since his dog was beaten, he naturally had to come out and take a look. So you're that old thief Tang Kun. When enemies met, their eyes would naturally turn red. Qin Hao was so angry that his eyes turned red. That's right, old man is the famous Tang Kun. Tang Kun raised his head arrogantly, and his eyes were full of contempt for Qin Hao. He didn't even put Qin Dingtian in his eyes, nor did he put Qin Shilong, the ancestor of the Qin family, in his eyes. Not to mention the youth in front of him, who had neither power nor influence and was dressed in shabby clothes. You poor kid, why aren't you kneeling on the ground and licking Elder Tang Kun's boots when you see him? At this time, a youth appeared beside Tang Kun. That youth was about 18 or 19 years old. He wore a luxurious embroidered robe with a jade belt around his waist and a jade crown on his head. His pair of red phoenix eyes emitted a sinister chill, making him look like a high and mighty prince. He was filled with a noble aura. Qin Hao narrowed his eyes and sized up the young man. His intuition told him that this person was most likely the boiling pot general's son, Wang Gui, and Tang Kun, to Tang Kun. But Qin Un, 8th Kun, Two World Studio, Com Kun. This question caused the young man to burst into laughter. He came back with Tang Fei. Tang Fei's scandal had spread to Monarch City. Wang Gui was embarrassed. He had to suppress it. Wang Gui wanted to participate in the Four Nations martial arts tournament. He didn't want to waste his energy on a woman. Women were just tools for him to vent his lust. He used them when he wanted to and threw them aside when he was done. But Tang Fei was born with a Yuan sage physique. She would have some achievements in the future. That was why Wang Gui ordered his brother, Wang Gui, to make a trip to Tang Kun. After Wang Gui came to Tang Kun, he was bored. He flirted with Tang Kun and teased the maids in Red Mountain Courtyard. Just now, he was drinking and having fun with two girls. Suddenly, he heard Zogo's miserable howl. Qin Hao ruined Wang Bi's mood on the spot, and Wang Bi was extremely angry with Qin Hao. Wang Gui? This is a good name. Ha! Tiger Cliff and the swordsman burst into laughter. Li Gangpao rolled on the floor laughing. Wang Taiden laughed so hard that his intestines almost burst. Even Qin Hao, who had always been steady, couldn't help but burst into laughter. The contempt in his laughter was obvious. The pillar of the state general's family was really weird. The father was Wang Ba, the eldest son was Wang Gui, and the youngest son was Wang Gui. They were all wild animals. But in fact, Qin Hao had wronged them. The Wang family was not to be trifled with. They had the bloodline of the black tortoise. In their eyes, the tortoise was a supreme god. Damn it. Wang Gui was furious when he heard the ear-piercing laughter. Not to mention the small heavens wall city. Even in Royal City, the young masters of the various nobles and officials didn't dare to look down on Wang Bi's name, and no one dared to point at him and laugh. They only had respect for him. Qin Hao sneered at Wang Gui. This was undisguised mockery. It was trampling on Wang Gui. Wang Gui was the youngest son of the pillar of the state general. Even if he wasn't as strong as Wang Gui, he was still a noble son. To put it bluntly, his status was not much lower than that of the emperor's son. Wang Gui couldn't bear it any longer. He walked toward Qin Hao with killing intent in his eyes. Little Prince Wang Gui, is it? Wan Qin has heard a lot about you. Chen Wan Qin stepped forward and stood in front of Qin Hao. The pillar of the state general had hundreds of thousands of soldiers. With a wave of his hand, corpses were everywhere. Qin Hao shouldn't have mocked Wang Gui in public. This would only deepen Wang Gui's hatred for Qin Hao. Wang Gui's anger dissipated when he saw a fairy-like girl in front of him. Chen Wanqin's temperament didn't need to be said. Wang Gui's eyes were like peach blossoms, and his saliva flowed out. Especially when he looked at Chen Wanqin's long legs. It was as if he was about to spit fire. Wonderful. It was really wonderful. This girl was rare in the world. She was the best of the best. Wang Gui couldn't help but extend his disgusting hands toward Chen Wanqin's body. Young Prince Wang Gui, please have some self-respect. Chen Wanqin's face turned cold in an instant. Wang Gui was the son of the boiling pot general. He was really a clown. In fact, any man who saw Chen Wanqin would not be able to restrain their lust. Of course, Qin Hao was an exception. This was why Chen Wanqin had a whole new level of respect for Qin Hao. Ahem. Miss, what's your name? I think I've seen you somewhere before. Oh, I remember now. It was in my dream. Just because I saw you in my dream, I couldn't forget your face. I dreamed that we would meet again one day. From then on, I began to miss you alone. When I miss you, you're at the horizon. When I miss you, you're in front of me. When I miss you, you're my mind. When I miss you, you're in my heart. You exist deep in my mind. In an instant, Wang Gui was in the mood to write poetry. He pretended to be elegant and struck a pose that he thought was very flirtatious. He stretched his hand out and placed it under his chin. Then, he looked at Chen Wanqin crazily. An expert. The swordsman was stunned. Wang Gui's poem had a deep meaning. It was so profound that it was unprecedented. The swordsman became excited. He couldn't stop his desire to write poetry. His eyes narrowed as he said, I hope you won't wake up from your drunken stupor. Bells, drums, and jade are not expensive. Wang Gui said smoothly. In an instant, an invisible battle intent spread out between Wang Gui and the swordsman. Chapter 195. Letter of Annulment. The swordsman took a step forward and said, Geese, 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 bend your neck and sing to the sky. White feathers floating on the water, red palms plucking the clear waves. Wangbi replied viciously. The swordsman looked as if he was facing a great enemy. Hoe the grain at noon. Wangbi swept his sleeves, sweat dripping down to the ground. Very good. Your poem has ignited my passion. The swordsman prepared to use his trump card. A poem, a bucket of wine, a long song, a sword to the horizon, a few wisps of smoke, a few sparks of fire. How much loneliness, how much sorrow. Who would have thought that Wang Bi's power was so profound that the swordsman gradually showed signs of losing? The swordsman roared. 1 piece, 2 pieces, 3 pieces for pieces, 5 pieces, 6 pieces, 7 pieces. Ha ha ha. Wang Bi laughed without fear. 9 pieces, 10 pieces, 11 pieces, they will fly into the flowers and disappear. Rumble. The swordsman felt as if he was struck by lightning. Wang Bi was truly a peerless expert. Eldest senior brother, this person is hard to deal with. Get out of the way. Qin Hao was already impatient. He shouted at Wang Bi, tell Tang Fei to come out. What did you say? Wang Bi was stunned. I said get Tang Fei out. Qin Hao was at his limit. Ha ha. You brat. Why don't you take a look at yourself? My sister-in-law is the noble princess Zhaoyang. Do you think you can see her just because you want to? Bah. Bumpkin. Wang Bi spat at Qin Hao. Crown Prince Wang Gui. He is my junior brother. I hope you can show him some respect. I said earlier that I am Chen Wanqin, the daughter of Fengli Temple's sect head, Chen Kang. I want to see Princess Zhaoyang. Chen Wanqin was afraid that Qin Hao would directly kill Wang Bi, so she revealed her identity again. Tang Kuan and Wang Bi looked at each other with grave expressions. The Fengli Temple dominated half of Jiang Kingdom, and Chen Kang was recognized as the #1 martial artist in the south. With Chen Wanqin's status, she was qualified to meet Tang Fei. So you're a gigolo who lives off a woman. No wonder you dare to be so arrogant. Tang Kuan mocked Qin Hao. Qin Hao had the backing of Chun Wanqin, which was why he dared to come to the Tang mansion and behave atrociously. Miss Wanqin, please wait a moment. Someone call my sister-in-law over. Wang Bi pondered and ordered the servant to invite Tang Fei. He had to leave a good impression on Chen Wanqin. If Wang Bi could win over Chen Wanqin, he would gain the support of the entire Fengli Temple. Then, he would have the capital to compete with Wang Gui for the family business. Seeing Qin Hao and Chun Wanqin standing so close to each other made Wang Bi very unhappy. Tang Kuan saw through Wang Bi's thoughts and said bitterly, "These lowly commoners are getting more and more lawless." They casually come to a rich family's house and even dare to challenge Crown Prince Wang Bi's dignity. No matter. I'm rich and powerful. I won't argue with commoners. Wang Bi and Tang Kuan echoed each other. But to be honest, Crown Prince Wang Bi broke through to the 8th tier of element gathering tier at the age of 18. Now, he's about to break through to the 9th tier of element gathering tier. You could be said to be a peerless genius. Wang Bi waved his hand and smiled modestly. You flatter me. I broke through to the 8th tier of element gathering tier at the age of 18. I'm not a peerless genius. I'm only slightly stronger than some useless trash, such as these trash from Fengli Temple. Hearing this, Tiger Cliff and the others were furious. Wang Bi was being too modest. Reaching the 8th tier of element gathering tier at the age of 18 was enough to be considered a genius. But in terms of peerless genius, Wang Bi was not worthy, because he was not even qualified to carry Qin Hao's shoes. At this moment, a graceful figure walked over from the main hall. It was a young girl. When the servants saw the young girl, they all knelt down in fear and praised, "Your Highness." Undoubtedly, this was Tang Fei. Tang Fei had a fair face and a curvaceous figure. She was wearing a luxurious long dress. As she walked, she carried an air of arrogance, like a proud white goose. However, she did have the right to be arrogant. She was the daughter of the Tang clan leader. Born with a Yuan saint physique, she could easily become a saint in the future. She was only 17 years old and broke through to the 7th tier of element gathering tier, making all the young men and women in Heaven's Wall City feel ashamed of their inferiority. Now, she had reached the 9th tier of element gathering tier. She was also given the title of Princess Zhaoyang by the emperor and married into the pillar of the state general's household. It could be said that a peasant girl could not reach Tang Fei's achievements, even if she worked hard for a few lifetimes. She was destined to be a phoenix since she was born. Who is Qin Hao? Tang Fei glanced at the crowd and asked coldly. Actually, she was trying her best to suppress her anger. Half a month later, Qin Hao had exposed her scandal, and she had rushed back without stopping. She wanted nothing more than to stab Qin Hao to death with her sword. However, she had to maintain her ladylike side. At least, she had to let others see that she was a well-educated and reasonable young lady. I am Qin Hao. Qin Hao replied with a straight face. His eyes were full of disappointment. Tang Fei was extremely hypocritical. She was a whore, but still wanted to maintain her chastity. Qin Hao, how dare you? Tang Fei could no longer pretend to be ladylike. She overturned the Qin family's pharmacy and killed Hai Dafu's men. She beat up Qin Laosi and Zhuo Maqiang and deliberately stole the hammer and scimitar. She wanted to take revenge on Qin Hao. Qin Hao became a disciple of Fengli Temple, so she did not dare to run to Chun Kang and behave atrociously. She thought that Qin Hao was hiding in Fengli Temple and did not dare to show his face. In the end, Qin Hao really came. He was simply courting death. How dare he? Not only am I bold, but I have a place that is even bolder than Wang Gui's. Unfortunately, you will never have the chance to see it. Qin Hao did not need to be polite to a bitch. You? Tang Fei was mad with anger. As the high and mighty Princess Zhaoyang, she was publicly humiliated by a country bumpkin. It was like a toad licking a swan. Very good, very good. Guards, kill him. Tang Fei shouted angrily. Suddenly, two guards in golden armor stepped forward. Their bodies were covered in green vital energy. They were the personal guards of the Tang clan leader. Let's see who dares. Chun Wanqin's face was as cold as frost, and she exuded a cold aura. Sister-in-law, this is Miss Wanqin, the daughter of Fengli Temple's sect head Chun. She might become your sister-in-law in the future. Give me some face, Wang Gui said with a fake smile. Tang Fei had no dignity in front of big brother Wang Gui. She was as cheap as a slave. Therefore, Wang Gui did not need to give Tang Fei face. So it's sect head Chen's daughter. Aya, I was wondering why we felt like old friends at first sight. It's as if I've met my biological sister. Tang Fei's attitude immediately changed for the better. Qin Hao could not help but feel disgusted. Tang Fei was Princess Zhaoyang in name, but in front of Wang Ba's family, she was just a maid. Was this the marriage that his mother had arranged for him? His mother was really blind. Qin Hao felt that it was not worth it. Your Highness, Qin Hao is my junior brother. He has something to say to you. I hope you can understand each other. Chen Wanqin heard about the marriage between Qin Hao and Tang Fei on her way here. At this moment, she also felt that it was not worth it for Qin Hao. Tang Fei was not worthy of a man like Qin Hao. No wonder you're so bold. It turns out that you become Sister Wanqin's junior brother. Tang Fei looked at Qin Hao with disdain and even disdain. She sneered, I know what you mean today. Isn't it just canceling the marriage? I agree. Qin Hao was stunned. He did not expect Tang Fei to be so straightforward. But in the next second, Qin Hao's anger gushed out like a huge wave. Tang Fei threw a piece of paper at Qin Hao's face. It was the original marriage contract. However, Qin Hao's mark had been erased from the paper. It was changed to divorce written by Tang Fei. Divorce letters were written by men to women since ancient times. Chapter 196. Who gave you the courage? Tang Fei fooled around with Wang Gui and made Qin Hao cuckold. She even wanted to divorce Qin Hao. A dignified man was being trampled on like this. If he accepted this letter of divorce, Qin Hao would bear the shame and infamy for the rest of his life. How would he have the face to stand in the world? This princess really admires your courage. A poor and pedantic boy with no money and no power dares to climb up my thigh? The Qin family is as poor as dirt. I'm afraid you don't even have a decent betrothal gift. How dare you come to me? Fortunately, I got to know young Master Wang Gui. Otherwise, a fresh flower would have rotted on a dog dung like you. Tang Fei sternly scolded. Your Highness, you've gone too far. Qin Hao's my junior brother. Chen Wanqin felt indignant. Oh, I forgot. You joined Fengli Temple and became a mediocre disciple. But so what? I am Princess Zhaoyang. How can you, Qin Hao, compare to me? I'm the daughter of the Tang family. How can a country bumpkin like you compare to me? I am in the 9th layer of element gathering tier at the age of 17 and have an innate Yuan saint physique. You probably haven't even reached the Qi gathering tier, so what right do you have to stand before me? You deliberately provoked my Tang residence and hit Steward Zhou Go. Did you think that this would attract my attention and make me have a good impression of you? You wanted me to think that you have a backbone and see you in a new light so that you can move my heart. Ha! This princess is also laughing. Let me give you a piece of advice. This trick of yours won't work because you really don't deserve it. I'm the phoenix in the 9th heaven, and you're just a shabby grass. You're destined to only be able to look up to me in this lifetime. I'm the goddess who controls your life and death. Take the divorce letter and get out of here. Tang Fei pointed at Qin Hao's nose and scolded him. She was definitely going to divorce Qin Hao. Furthermore, he had to make sure that Qin Hao would never be able to raise his head in public. This was the price Qin Hao had to pay for exposing Tang Fei's scandal. Ha! I'm dying of laughter. Qin Hao, you're a big man. You've been divorced, and you've come to our Tang mansion to humiliate yourself. If I were you, I'd kill myself in a cesspool so that you don't embarrass yourself and piss your father off. Zogo roared with laughter. Qin Hao deserved it. Well done, your highness. Qin Hao dared to slap Zogo and break his leg. This was the bloody price to pay. Tang Kuan also beamed with joy. Back then, Qin Hao was incompetent. Now, Qin Hao was even more incompetent. At this moment, all the servants and maids in the Tang mansion were covering their mouths and laughing. His eyes were full of disdain for Qin Hao. A man was divorced by a woman. However, to be able to be divorced by the noble princess, Qin Hao is truly blessed by 8 lifetimes. Lady Wan Qin, please don't be so close to this trash. If you stand too close to him, you will be tainted with bad luck. Wang Bi quickly tried to curry favor with Chen Wanqin. In his heart, he was also full of admiration for Tang Fei. Although this Tang Fei was also unbearably despicable, this slap on Qin Hao's face was incomparably resounding. This showed Wang Bi's noble status and sense of superiority. This is too much. This is simply bullying my eldest martial brother. Tiger Cliff and swordsman clenched their palms so hard that they were bleeding. Qin Hao had saved their lives before. Qin Laosi was also extremely humiliated. In the future, the entire Qin family would lose face. Hao was a big man. If he was slapped on the face by a divorce letter, how would he be able to face others in the future? This was going to ruin Qin Hao's life. Rip. Qin Hao grabbed the divorce letter and tore it into pieces. He raised his hand and threw it over his head. The pieces were like snowflakes that scattered on the ground. The scene completely shocked the crowd. Everyone's mocking expression froze on their faces. Qin Hao was extremely bold. He had torn apart Princess Xiaoyang's divorce letter. This was an undisguised provocation. You really don't want face. How dare you tear apart my divorce letter? Tang Fei was so angry that her face was contorted. She was as ugly as an old woman. Why wouldn't I dare? Qin Hao glared at her. What a big mouth. With a thunderous roar, a pale-faced, middle-aged man walked over with a shocking aura. It was the head of the Tang family, Tang Fei's father, Tang Xian. Half a month ago, Captain Xing brought the divorce letter to Tang Xian. Tang Xian was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood. He didn't expect Qin Hao to come again. Father, kill him for me. Tang Fei had already reached the limit of her tolerance. If it weren't for Princess Xiaoyang's reputation, she would have stabbed Qin Hao to death with her own hands. Back then, I was blind to set up an arranged marriage with a lowly woman like your mother. I regret it. Now, my daughter is Princess Xiaoyang. It is Qin Hao's fortune that she is mercifully divorcing you. Your father, Qin Dingtian, is useless. You're even more useless. You are not worthy of my daughter. Hurry up and pick up the divorce letter. Keep it in your embrace and treat it as a peerless treasure. Treat it as a family heirloom and pass it down to your descendants so that your descendants can bask in its glory. Now get lost. Tang Xian pointed at Qin Hao's nose and drove him away as though he was driving away a beggar. What if I don't leave? There was a flash of blood in Qin Hao's eyes. Don't leave? Then you can stay in the Tang residence forever and become fertilizer to nourish my flowers and plants. Tang Xian was furious. The aura of a 6-star Yuan master burst out as he viciously pressed down on Qin Hao's head. Who gave you, Tang Xian, the courage to commit murder in broad daylight? Boom! The main gate of the Tang residence was brutally smashed into pieces. A bloated figure with a noble aura strode over, his eyes blazing with anger. This is the Tang residence. Unauthorized personnel are not allowed to enter. Die! Without waiting for the Tang Mansion's lackeys to stop him, a tyrannical green origin energy surged out and instantly turned the 6 lackeys into corpses that flew out. The intruders. They were Haida Fu and Old Six. OL6 directly killed him. That was because a group of men of sacrifice he had adopted had all been killed by Tang Fei. Those men of sacrifice were a group of orphans who had a rough fate. Old Six had raised them and taught them martial arts. He treated them like his own children. Not only did Tang Fei kill them, but she also cut off their heads and hung them in front of the Qin family's medicine shop. Haida Fu. Tang Xian was stunned. His expression was grave. Haida Fu's wealth was comparable to that of a country. He was not to be trifled with. Moreover, he was an important member of the Western Liang Business Alliance. Tang Xian, if you don't hand over Tang Fei today, I will massacre your entire Tang residence. Haida Fu waved his hand. Whoosh! Hundreds of martial artists dressed in black appeared on the roof of the Tang residence. They were holding sharp swords in their hands. As long as Hai Fei Zi gave the order, the Tang residence would turn into a river of blood. The maids and servants were so frightened that they screamed crazily. 5 days ago, Hai Fei Zi had an urgent matter and left the city. It was related to the treasure. When he returned today, he learned that the Tang residents had attacked the Qin family's medicine shop. Moreover, they had killed Hai Dafu's men without mercy. When Hai Dafu was in his most difficult time, Qin Hao had helped him. When everyone had abandoned Hai Dafu, it was Qin Hao who had sent him 500,000 gold coins to save his life. Not only that, Qin Hao had also helped Hai Dafu get closer to Dan Ge. This was a great help to Hai Dafu's business. Hai Dafu saw Qin Hao as his savior and lifelong friend. That damn Tang Fei had not only killed Hai Fei Zi's men, she had also destroyed Qin Hao's medicine shop. This was an extreme provocation to Hai Dafu. It was an insult to the entire Hai residence. If Hai Dafu could still tolerate this, he would have no face to stay in the business alliance. Chapter 197. Take it or not. Grandpa, see? What a coincidence. How have you been? Qin Hao was amused. Young Master Qin Hao. Hai Dafu was stunned. He never thought that Qin Hao would actually be in the Tang mansion. He thought that Tang Xian was going to kill a servant of the Qin family. Tang Xian's palm was still raised above Qin Hao's head. It seemed like he was going to kill Qin Hao. Hai Dafu's eyes immediately turned red with anger. He rushed forward and pushed Tang Xian away. He bowed respectfully in front of Qin Hao and said, Hai Dafu greets young master. Rumble. This scene, everyone's jaws dropped. Hai Dafu, who was as rich as a country, saluted Qin Hao. This. As an important member of the Merchant Alliance, Hai Dafu was very honorable and arrogant. He did not put the Tang residents in his eyes at all. But in front of Qin Hao, he lowered his voice and bowed. It almost blinded everyone's eyes. Master Hai, don't be like that. You're so rich that you can rival a country. You're so rich that if you throw out a big gold ingot, you can smash an entire city to death. Pay attention to your image. Qin Hao said casually, and he didn't even seem to care. So what if he's as rich as a country? So what if I'm rich? In front of young Master Qin Hao's divine ability, I, Hai Dafu, am just a small mortal merchant. Many thanks to young master for the 500,000 taels of gold you casually gave me, solving Xiao Hai's desperate situation. Hai Dafu said gratefully. Rumble. His words stirred up 1,000 ripples. Was this real or fake? Qin Hao casually gave Hai Dafu 500,000 taels of gold. It was equivalent to 50 million taels of silver. Who said that Qin Hao was poor? Was there such a rich and poor man in the world? If you do, hurry up and give me a dozen. This was undoubtedly a bloody slap on Tang Fei's face. He had also ruthlessly shattered Tang Xian's arrogant face. Honestly speaking, the income of the entire Tang mansion in the past 20 years was far from 500,000 taels of gold. Qin Hao gave it away so casually. At this moment, even Wang Bi was so shocked that he clutched his chest and panted frantically, as if he was about to have a heart attack. A mere 500,000 taels of gold is not worth mentioning. All right, how's your treasure? Did Dan Ge send anyone to help you? Qin Hao asked. The treasure is already under construction. It will definitely be unearthed within half a year. It's all thanks to the ancient pill recipe that Gongzi gave for free. I submitted the recipe to Dan Ge, and it's currently being reviewed. One of the elders of Dan Ge attached great importance to this recipe and asked Little Hai to convey his admiration for Gongzi. He hopes that Gongzi will one day visit the Luo Shui Empire. That elder wants to personally receive you. Hai Dafu worshipped Qin Hao as God. Qin Hao's pill recipe had already attracted Dan Ji's attention. Boom! A thunderclap shook the heavens and reverberated throughout the Tang mansion. Everyone was in disbelief. Qin Hao even gave Hai Dafu a copy of the ancient pill recipe for free. Dan Ji's elder personally reviewed the recipe and hoped that Qin Hao could go to Dan Ji's headquarters. This. Was the sky about to fall? Who said that Qin Hao had no power or influence? He had Dan Ge behind him. Dan Ge's influence was so great that it covered the entire western Liang. Zhou Go was so frightened that he almost fainted. Tang Kuan coughed up a mouthful of blood. Tang Fei and Tang Xian's expressions changed greatly. Wang Bi was about to die from a heart attack. A mere ancient pill recipe is not worth mentioning. I have plenty of it. It's good that I can help you. Qin Hao smiled casually. This emperor still has ancient pill recipes in his hands. He even has the remnants of a divine pill left behind by Miluzi of the god race after the creation of the world. Showing off. This was simply a blatant show-off. At this moment, the way everyone looked at Qin Hao changed. No more contempt, no more mockery. There was only reverence. Even Tang Fei began to tremble uncontrollably. The Qin Hao that she despised, the useless Qin Hao. In Hai Dafu's eyes, he was more honorable than a god. As a business tycoon, Hai Dafu had done business all his life. His eyes were very sharp. At this moment, it was clear whose eyes were out of order. Chen Wanqin looked at Qin Hao curiously. She could not see through him again. Qin Hao is filled with a mysterious aura. Little Hai's matter has been resolved, but young master's matter has not been resolved, right? Why don't you tell me about it, and let little Hai help young master? The entire Tang family was bullying Qin Hao. Hai Dafu stood on Qin Hao's side without hesitation. Old Six had even raised his hand. If Tang Xian made Qin Hao unhappy in the slightest. In the next moment, hundreds of black-clothed men turned the Tang residence into a river of blood. Actually, it's not a big deal. Someone is relying on the fact that she's Princess Zhaoyang and despises me for being a poor commoner with no money or house. She wants to divorce me. Qin Hao made a long story short and told Hai Dafu about the marriage contract. Hai Dafu flew into a rage. He was so angry that he stomped his feet on the ground. Tang Xian, how dare you? Are you blind? Is your daughter made of gold? Or is she made of diamonds? She humiliated young Master Qin Hao like this. She's not even fit to carry young Master Qin Hao's shoes. If you don't take back this divorce contract today, my Hai residence and your Tang residence will be irreconcilable. No, it's a small matter. There's no need to see blood. It's actually very simple. Swordsman, Qin Hao muttered. The swordsman stepped forward and handed over a brush and ink. Qin Hao had prepared the brush and ink in advance. When he came, he was afraid that Tang Fei would go back on her words and tear up the marriage contract. He didn't expect that the brush and ink would really come in handy. Immediately, Qin Hao wrote another one and coldly handed it to Tang Fei's face. Do you accept or not? Creak. Tang Fei clenched her fists tightly and gritted her teeth until they made cracking sounds. Just now, she had bullied Qin Hao by shoving the divorce contract into his hands. Now, Qin Hao shoved it back. This divorce contract was undoubtedly a pile of feces. If she accepted it, she would go down in history as a stink. The Princess Zhaoyang bestowed by the emperor would become a joke. She would become a piece of trash that no one else wanted. She would bring shame to the entire Tang residence. But if she didn't accept it, Hai Dafu, are you really going to shed all pretense of cordiality with my Tang mansion for a mere Qin Hao? Tang Xian stepped forward and exuded the aura of a 6-star master. So what if I am? Are you going to accept it or not? Hai Dafu glanced at Old Six. Old Six also exuded primal chi. He was an intermediate 6-star master. Tang Xian was only a beginner. Tang Xian was no match for Old Six. Qin Hao, you're pushing me too far. Tang Fei gritted her teeth and growled. I'm pushing you? Qin Hao smiled. Who was the one who bullied me just now? Who was the one who complained that I had no power and influence? Who was the one who said that I was just a toad and wasn't worthy of the high and mighty Princess Tang Fei? Since I'm just a piece of trash, what right do I have to force you to accept it? Are you going to accept it or not? Are you going to accept it or not? Are you going to accept it or not? Tiger Cliff, Swordsman, and Li Gangpao shouted at the same time. Their voices were ear-piercing. It was like a sharp thorn stabbing into Tang Fei's heart. Fine. You're the ones who are courting death. General Che Ji, how long are you going to watch from the sidelines? Don't you care about the reputation of the pillar of the state general? Tang Fei turned around and shouted at the inner courtyard of the Tang residence. Haidafu's heart trembled. Lu Do, General Che Ji of the state of Jiang. Chapter 198. Untouchables Deserve Death. Although Lu Do was not as powerful as the pillar of the state general, but he was also a fierce general among the fierce generals of the Jiang kingdom. His strength was at the pinnacle of a 6-star Yuan master. Old Sixth was no match for Lu Do. Lu Do galloped through the battlefield, unrivaled. He was one of the few people who dared to challenge the pillar of the state, General Wang Ba. Lu Do and Wang Ba had never been on good terms. Why did he appear in the Tang residence? Could it be that even he had submitted to Wang Ba and had become his lackey? As Tang Fei roared, a mighty and majestic figure slowly approached. His figure was covered in a domineering battle armor. His aura was like a mountain, and his murderous aura could frighten ghosts and gods. This is a valiant general. Qin Hao looked at LV Do seriously. Lu Do was a middle-aged man. Although his strength was far from being comparable to the 4 godly generals under Qin Hao in his previous life. He wasn't even worthy of carrying Zhanlang and Imperial Wind shoes. However, it was obvious that Lu Do was also covered in blood. No less than 10,000 souls had perished under his blade. Lu Dolai glanced around with disdain. Everyone who was swept by it trembled. A cold smile hung on the corner of his mouth. He took out the imperial edict from behind his back and read it aloud. By the will of the heavens, Emperor Jiang decrees. Voila! The entire Tang residence, including Tang Xian, knelt down at the same time. Tiger Cliff and swordsmen couldn't resist LV Do's murderous aura and buried their heads in the ground. Only Qin Hao, Chun Wanqin, Haidafu, and Old Six were still standing. Chen Wanqin's father was an 8-star peak stage Yuan master. He was even stronger than Lu Do. Chen Wanqin wouldn't be frightened. To her surprise, Qin Hao didn't even frown in front of LV Do. What kind of man is he? Chen Wanqin was full of appreciation for Qin Hao's performance. Heaven's grace is vast and mighty. Princess Zhaoyang will be conferred the title of Princess Zhaoyang, and Tang Xian will be conferred the title of First Marquis of the Jiang Kingdom. Lu Do closed the imperial edict and passed it to Tang Xian. Jiang Wang, long live your majesty. Tang Xian took the imperial edict and laughed maniacally. He was incomparably arrogant and had soared to the heavens. He was a relative of the emperor. Tang Fei immediately regained her arrogant face. She was even 100 times, 1,000 times more arrogant than before. She was conferred the title of princess and entered the royal family. She was the first princess with a different surname in the history of Jiang Kingdom. He was directly promoted to the sky above the heads of the commoners. This imperial edict was undoubtedly a nightmare for the Qin family. At this moment, Qin Laosi simply had no face left. The Qin family was destined to never be able to raise their heads in front of Tang Fei. Qin Hao, how do you feel right now? You dare to divorce me? I've been given the title of Sunshine Princess. If you go against me, you'll be going against the royal family. How many heads do you have to go against Jiang Wang? And you? Tang Fei pointed at Haidafu's nose. You fat pig, you're supporting Qin Hao. You must be tired of living. Immediately kneel in front of me and kowtow to repent. Then cut ties with Qin Hao and become my Tang residence's lackey. Tang Fei was so proud and arrogant that she was overjoyed. So what if Qin Hao had Haidafu's support? So what if he had Dan Ji's support? Could he go against the royal family? Qin Hao was destined to be a toad. No matter how hard he worked, he would only be worthy of kneeling at Tang Fei's feet. The pillar of the state general was indeed mighty. Even Lu Do had to submit to him. Tang Fei was glad that she had a powerful father-in-law. All of this was due to Wang Gui. Marrying Wang Gui was the wisest choice in Tang Fei's life. Qin Hao is simply the lowly sand under Wang Gui's feet. He could step on it however he wanted. Slap. Unexpectedly, Wang Gui came up and gave Tang Fei a slap. His eyes were red. This slap not only stupefied Tang Fei, it also stupefied everyone. Ludo smiled and said, "Sunshine Princess, watch your attitude. Uncle Hai is an important member of the Shiliang Merchant Alliance. He alone can support the national treasury for 10 years. Even if you were bestowed with the title of Sunshine Princess, don't be too complacent." Hai Dafu's ability was far beyond Tang Fei's imagination. Otherwise, Hai Dafu wouldn't have stood so high up when reading the Imperial Edict. Even Wang Ba had to be respectful when he saw Hai Dafu. Tang Fei dared to boast shamelessly that Hai Dafu would be her lackey. This was undoubtedly provoking a strong enemy for Wang Ba. No wonder Wang Gui wanted to slap her. However, a merchant is still a merchant. Uncle Hai, you know very well that Jiang country is a vassal state of the Luo Shui Empire. Jiang Wang has the support of the great Luo Shui Emperor behind him. You merchants can't compare to him. This general advises you, don't meddle. Ludo threatened. Suddenly, Hai Fei looked embarrassed. He was a member of the Merchant Alliance. Although he wasn't an ordinary member, he really didn't have the capital to compete with the great Luo Shui Emperor. And you, kid, this general has to admire your courage. A lowly commoner like you can have a relationship with Uncle Hai. It's really a blessing. But it's over. You can't mess with the royal family. Trash should go back to the trash nest. Hurry up and apologize to Sunshine Princess, then get out. Ludo waved his hand at Qin Hao. You want me to apologize to Tang Fei? You want me to apologize to her? Qin Hao was so angry that he laughed. That's right. Kneel in front of Sunshine Princess. Slap yourself 300 times. Then get out of here, lowly trash. Ludo's eyes were sharp. Qin Hao dared to talk back to him. What if I don't kneel? Qin Hao not only dared to talk back, but also took a step forward to Ludo. At the same time, he secretly released the Emperor's aura. In an instant, Ludo's legs trembled, and he couldn't help but take a small step back. Qin Hao's invisible gaze made Ludo have the urge to kneel. But then, Ludo was so angry that his face turned blood red. As the Cheiji general, he had killed countless people and had tens of thousands of soldiers under him. Wherever his sword pointed, he was invincible. But in front of a young man, he took a step back. It was simply the greatest humiliation of his life. Audacious, lowly commoner, how dare you ignore this general's aura? You're courting death. Ludo immediately released the aura of a peak 6-star Yuan master. Without any explanation, he punched toward Qin Hao's head. It didn't matter if he killed a lowly commoner. Impudent. Hai Dafu flew into a rage. Without needing his order, Old Six had already blocked it. But at this moment, 2 dazzling balls of light came from afar. They were as fast as shooting stars and landed in the Tang residence in the blink of an eye. At this moment, whether it was Ludo or Old Six who attacked, they were sent flying by these 2 balls of energy and couldn't stop. Tang Xian and Tang Kuan were even worse. They fell to the ground and vomited blood, especially the innocent Hai Fei, who had no strength at all, rolled out like a rubber ball. However, Qin Hao and Qin Wanqin were unharmed. Ha ha! Little Qin, old man, we meet again. Little Melon misses you. Who else could this thunderous voice be but the drunkard? As soon as the drunkard landed, no one knew whether it was intentional or not, but his wine gourd accidentally flew out and hit Wang Bi's head. The gourd, which was comparable to a low-grade weapon, smashed Wang Bi's head until it was bleeding. He howled miserably and cried like a pig being slaughtered. His face was covered in blood. Chapter 199. The best of the best. Could it be that you're the head of the Heavenly Fist sect, Senior Drunkard? Ludo pays respect to Senior Drunkard. Ludo finally managed to stop himself and scrambled to the front of the drunkard. Just his aura alone was enough to put him in such a sorry state. In the entire southern region, there were less than a fifth of them. The wine gourd that flew out was the most obvious sign of an alcoholic. Ludo immediately recognized the drunkard's identity. The drunkard couldn't be bothered to respond. Heavens, could it be that this is the Dan Xian elder of Fengli Temple, the Dan Xian Grandmaster that even His Majesty admires? Ludo has been fascinated by you for a long time. My torrential river water is endless, my thirsty gaze. Ludo bowed in front of Dan Xian. Dan Xian was one of the few second-grade alchemists in Jiang country. Even the emperor had to treat him with respect. Ludo's eyes immediately burned with passion. I have been stuck in this realm for more than 5 years and have not been able to break through. I beg Senior Dan Xian to give me a pill, no matter the cost. I beg you. It's useless for you to beg me. Why don't you beg my disciple? I'm ashamed to say that my disciple's alchemy skills have far surpassed old man's. Dan Xian shook his head and sighed. Qin Hao's attainments in the alchemic way were indeed far beyond that of a profound realm alchemist, and the only difference between them was the grade and realm of the alchemist. Heavens, your disciple has arrived at the Tang residence? This simply made the trashy Tang mansion's humble dwelling shine with light, and the ancestors of the Tang mansion emitted green smoke. But why didn't you inform me in advance? Dare I ask, which one of you is the peerless disciple of Elder Dan Xian? I hope that senior disciple can bestow upon me, Ludo, an immortal pill so that I can break through. Ludo looked at everyone anxiously. His gaze swept past Swordman, Tiger Cliff, Li Gangpao, and the others. Ludo shook his head. These were obviously not core Xian disciples, but each and every one of them was so scared that they were lying on the ground. He quickly looked at Chun Wanxin and frowned. Chun Wanxin was Chun Kang's daughter, and since Chun Kang was already so strong, there was no reason for Chun Wanxin to become a disciple of Dan Xian. Lu Dojin was about to go crazy. Just who was the senior disciple here? Could it be that Senior Gao, too, had been hiding in the dark all this time? Ludo nodded. That must be it. Senior Gao, too, is testing everyone's willpower. An expert's actions were unfathomable. Senior honorable disciple, you don't have to hide anymore. I've already seen you. A man as cool as you, no matter where you are, is as bright as a firefly in the dark. You're as gorgeous as the fireworks in the night sky. I, Ludo, have admired your melancholy eyes, your sparse beard, and your miraculous alchemy skills for a long time. Hurry up and show yourself so that you can blind me. Ludo raised his arms and shouted towards the Tang residence. He didn't even bother to look at Qin Hao. Qin Hao was weak and insignificant, a piece of trash. Ludo had directly ruled out the possibility of him becoming a core profound disciple, because Qin Hao is not qualified. That's right. Hurry up and come out. You're blinding me. You've blinded me, Tang Xian, to hurry up and pierce my Zogo's dog eyes. Senior Gao, too, please show yourself. The Tang residence's patriarch took the lead in cheering. He was like a group of believers waiting for the arrival of God. The entire scene was boiling with excitement. I, Tang Fei, have admired Senior Gao Tu for a long time. I beg you to show yourself. I, Wang Bi, can admire Senior Gao Tu's grace. It's my fortune of 3 lifetimes. Wang Bi and Tang Fei couldn't bear it anymore. If they could form a relationship with Senior Gao Tu and firmly hold onto his thigh, their future cultivation wouldn't be a problem. However, no one looked at Qin Hao. Qin Hao is so shabby. How could he be Core Profound's disciple? The swordsman shook his head. What kind of eyes did these people have? He really wondered if their eyes grew on their butts. The swordsman strode forward, pointed at Qin Hao, and said, "This peerless handsome man who was almost killed by you is Elder Dan Xian's only brilliant disciple. He is the grand senior brother of my Phoenix Glass Palace's inner pavilion and also the Saint King in the hearts of all disciples. Of course, he's also my most respected teacher." Kacha! Crackling lightning flashed in front of everyone's eyes. Ludo and the others were all dumbfounded. The lightning made Tang Fei tremble all over. It made Ludo burn on the outside and tinder on the inside. This time, they really wanted to blind their dog eyes. How did Qin Hao become Core Profound's disciple? Heavens! What did they do just now? They insulted Qin Hao, despised Qin Hao, regarded Qin Hao as trash, and described Qin Hao as inferior to pigs and dogs. Ludo also almost killed Qin Hao with a punch. Just thinking about it made him feel that it was an extremely terrifying thing. At this moment, Lu Do finally woke up. No wonder Hai Dafu risked his life to protect Qin Hao. Qin Hao's real identity was the core profound's disciple. Why didn't you say so earlier? If Lu Do knew that Qin Hao was core profound's disciple, he would also protect him. This Hai Dafu was too stingy. Tang Xian was so shocked that he felt as if he was struck by lightning. He suddenly recalled that half a month ago, Captain Xing had stormed into the study room in anger. He smashed a letter of divorce on the guard's face and shouted, "The son of Qin Ding Tian, the current sage monarch of Fengli Temple, is ashamed of the Tang residents." At that time, Tang Xian thought it was a joke. How could Qin Hao be revered as the sage monarch by Fengli Temple? Chapter 200. Have a noble spirit in mind. I don't like people who speak empty words. If you want me to save you, then take some actions. Qin Hao swept his gaze across the people of the Tang residence, ready to slap their faces. If young master has any instructions, please do not hesitate to speak. Lu Do instantly lowered his posture. Qin Hao pointed at Zhou Go and said, "This man humiliated my father in the past, and today he humiliated me again and again. He even injured my fourth uncle and destroyed my pharmacy. I don't want to see him again." In other words, Zhou Go was too much of an eyesore. Great General, don't be angry." Zhou Go was so scared that his face turned pale. Whoosh! Lu Do slashed out with his saber and directly dismembered Zhou Go's corpse. His attack was ruthless and merciless. I don't like to get angry. I always attack directly. What a precise and perfect slash. Whoosh! Whoosh! Everyone's heart trembled violently. With one slash, Zhou Go was in front of all the people on the street in the Tang residence. In front of the Tang family head. Zhou Go didn't even have the time to shout, "Master, save me," was "Great General." You. Tang Xian felt extremely aggrieved. Lu Do was the great general of the chariot and cavalry. His position was high and powerful. Tang Xian really couldn't afford to offend him. In fact, he didn't even dare to let out a fart. Second Elder Tang Kun glared at Qin Hao so hard that his eyes were about to bleed. Zhou Go had served him in the Red Mountain Academy for many years. His dog was cut down right in front of his eyes. He knew that Qin Hao was taking revenge. Qin Hao sneered as he pointed at a golden-armored guard beside Tang Xian. The guard had Zhou Jun Qin's scimitar hanging at his waist. This person threatened me just now and even attacked me. The scimitar at his waist was stolen from my brother. This vicious dog makes me feel extremely dangerous and uneasy. That's easy. Lu Do stabbed out. The golden armor protector didn't even have time to react and was directly pierced through by Lu Do's saber. Lu Do took back the scimitar and returned it to Qin Hao's hand. This time, young master is safe. General Lu, you've gone too far. Tang Xian's heart was bleeding. He clenched his fists so tightly that cracking sounds could be heard. The golden armor guard was one of his right-hand men and had the strength of a 3-star Yuan master. In Lu Do's eyes, they were slaughtered like chickens and ducks. You're not convinced? LV Do glared at Tang Xian with a ferocious look and stuck out his tongue. He didn't care if Tang Xian was a first marquis or a count. If he dared to resist, he would kill him first. Very good. Qin Hao sneered and threw his scimitar at Zhou Junshan. Actually, I've always had a question. Senior drunkard, no matter how powerful your disciple is, he's at most an outer disciple of the Wild Dragon Academy. It's still not certain how far he'll go in the future. Tang Fei said with a sour tone. They even secretly cursed Xiaogua for not even being able to pass the origin ancestor realm and dying directly. It would be best if he died tomorrow. Oh, I'm sorry. Our family's little melon isn't an ordinary outer court disciple. He was very unlucky to have caught the eye of the Wild Dragon Academy's outer court Great Elder. He was very unlucky to have been accepted as a direct disciple by the Great Elder. Even the old man is extremely jealous, although the old man is very reluctant in his heart. After all, his own disciple has been snatched away by someone else. However, as long as my disciple is well, it's enough. At this point, the drunkard was rather emotional. He couldn't help but shed 2 drops of tears. He had raised Sayogwa for a total of 8 years, stabilizing that seal every day. In the end, his disciple had become someone else's. However, the drunkard knew that only if Sayogwa left the Jiang country could he have a brighter future. Only by becoming the disciple of the Great Elder with monstrous strength would his Herculean bull demon body not die prematurely and be plotted against by others. At this moment, Tang Fei's jealousy simply multiplied by 100 times. She was so jealous that she was about to go crazy. You're still reluctant to be accepted as a direct disciple by the Wild Dragon Academy's outer court Great Elder? You call this unlucky? Then Tang Fei was willing to be unlucky. Even so, what does this have to do with Qin Hao? Tang Fei roared. Of course it has something to do with him. Because our family's little melon admires Qin Hao very much and treats Qin Hao as his own elder brother. Qin Hao, Little Melon, said that no matter how far he grows in the future, he will always be your little brother. He will destroy all your enemies. The drunkard stopped smiling and said with a serious expression. These words were deliberately said for Tang Fei to hear. Even if Tang Fei really reached the sage stage one day, she wouldn't be able to touch a single hair on Qin Hao, because Qin Hao was Sayogwa's elder brother. Boom! Everyone staggered and almost fell to the ground. The Herculean bull demon body was just a small follower of Qin Hao. This, as expected of my little brother. Qin Hao is also very proud of Sayogwa. After all, to be able to directly become a disciple of the Wild Dragon Academy, he didn't need to fight with the geniuses of various countries to fight for that one and only spot. Master, my admiration for you is overflowing again. The swordsman's eyes were filled with tears. He was so emotional that he wanted to kowtow to Qin Hao. Even the Herculean bull demon body was conquered by Qin Hao. Master was really a god. Drunkard, don't be so smug. Chapter 202. I will fight this battle. Qin Hao, I'm begging you. Stop torturing my mind. I'm about to collapse. How about this? I'll apologize to you. I'm willing to compensate you. Tang Fei quickly took out a small box from her bosom. Opening the box, there was a pill lying inside. This is a superior grade major essence pill. It has the effect of rapidly recovering essence. If you consume this pill when breaking through to the primordial master realm, your success rate will increase by 20%. Wang Gui had paid a great price to obtain it from the pill sect. Wang Gui gave me one, and I've been keeping it. I can't bear to eat it, so I'm giving it to you now. Tang Fei stared at the high-grade, great origin pill for a very long time, her eyes filled with reluctance. In the end, he gritted his teeth and handed it to Qin Hao. Is this the benefit of sucking up to Wang Gui? Could it be that he can only give you trash major primal pills? Qin Hao couldn't help but feel sad for Tang Fei. Not worth it. It was not worth it. For a mere major primal pill, Tang Fei lost her dignity and became the King Turtle's servant. He was willing to be slapped in the face by Wang Bi and Lu Do. Moreover, he was willing to be slapped by anyone who wanted to. How can this be a trash major primal pill? It's a high-grade level 2 pill and is extremely precious in Jiang country. Tang Fei pleaded, treating the great origin pill as a treasure. Sorry, forgive this steel cannon for speaking bluntly, but my senior brother Qin Hao can produce a supreme-grade major primal pill with a casual wave of his hand. Therefore, it is indeed trash. I'm sorry, but my senior brother Qin Hao's stare can produce a peerless grade marrow cleansing pill. Sorry, my senior apprentice brother Qin Hao casually blew out an origin strengthening pill. I'm sorry, all the intersect disciples in our sect are taking the best chi-gathering pills made by senior brother Qin Hao. It's like drinking water. Therefore, Your Highness, you should keep your trash pill for yourself. There was no need for Qin Hao to say anything. Tiger Cliff, Li Gang Pao, and the other two stood out and said, "Also, are you deliberately insulting the old man?" Dan Xian took a step forward. Of all things, Tang Fei just had to take out a pill in front of Pill Master. Even if you take out a hemp rope, it's still better than pills. Dan Xian was Qin Hao's master. He was one of the only two rank 2 alchemists in the Jiang Kingdom. Qin Hao was Dan Xian's disciple. How could he not be able to afford pills? Moreover, what Tang Fei took out was a trash major elemental pill. "No, I didn't do it on purpose. Elder Dan Xian, please forgive me." Tang Fei was so anxious that she lost her composure. "You don't have to say anymore. You have to accept the divorce papers today. From now on, I, Qin Hao, have nothing to do with you, Tang Fei. You can find any man you want." Qin Hao raised the divorce letter to Tang Fei's face. Then, all the nightmares would cease to exist. Block 3 moves from you? Block 100 moves from you. So what if I block 1,000 moves from you? Qin Hao agreed immediately. Tang Fei was courting death to the extreme. "All right, you said it. Bring me my Shang Fong sword." Tang Fei waved her hand, and instantly, a servant handed over the sword. The Shang Fong sword was a high-grade sharp weapon. It was originally Wang Gui's treasure, his personal sword. It could cut through iron like mud. Today, Tang Fei made an exception and brought it back. So what if Qin Hao had the large seal? One move would definitely kill him. Qin Hao walked forward steadily with his hands behind his back. Tang Fei was merely in the 9th layer of element gathering tier and only had a high-grade sharp weapon. She was not worthy of Qin Hao using the purple meteorite sword. However, at this moment, a beautiful figure appeared in a flash and landed in front of Qin Hao and Tang Fei. The speed was so fast that Drunkard and Dan Xian did not see it clearly. Instantly, Dan Xian and Drunkard's expressions changed drastically. "I'll fight this battle for Qin Hao." Xiaohan's black hair fluttered on her face. Her delicate face, petite figure, and spiritual energy flowed between her brows, making her look like a fairy from the 9 heavens. Immediately, Tang Fei felt ashamed of herself. Even Qin Wanqin was amazed. She still did not know who Xiaohan was. She could only sigh. Whether it was temperament or appearance, Xiaohan was not inferior to Qin Wanqin. When she stood next to Qin Hao, it had to be said that their auras were extremely compatible. Who exactly was this woman? Tang Fei's face was also full of questions. Xiaohan was born beautiful and had good movement skills. She was somewhat difficult to deal with. Moreover, why did she protect Qin Hao the moment she appeared? Xiaohan sob. "I'm sorry. Fourth uncle has caused you trouble again." Qin Laosi could not stop his tears from flowing. As soon as he spoke, everyone present suddenly understood. As Qin Hao's lowly concubine, it's reasonable for you to stand up for him. But this elder sister wants to advise you. Don't treat your life as a joke. My sword isn't a joke. Even though your life isn't worth anything, and even though you don't deserve to fight with me. More importantly, does it count if you represent Qin Hao to fight? Tang Fei berated sternly. She had a feeling of arrogance. After all, she was originally Qin Hao's legal wife. Xiaohan was just a concubine used to make up the numbers. She had a sufficient sense of superiority. If Xiaohan loses, I, Qin Hao, will slap myself 300 times. I will kneel in front of you, Tang Fei, and kowtow. I will also admit that you were the one who divorced me. Qin Hao straightened his body and spoke. Old man guarantees it. Dan Xian took a step forward with an ashen face. Old man guarantees it too. The drunkard really couldn't care less about Tang Fei's arrogant face. He didn't know how this blind Tang Fei would be slapped in the face by Xiaohan later. Good. Tang Fei beamed with joy, as if victory was already in her hands. Her imperial sword. She drew it out slowly. The bright sword light was deliberately aimed at Xiao Han's face. It was emitting a chilling aura. This sword is an upper-grade refined weapon. It's my beloved brother Wang Gui's sword. Today, you're lucky enough to have a look at it. It's a blessing that you've cultivated for 8 lifetimes. But it's only one look, because in the next moment, your head will fall to the ground. Tang Fei slashed the sword at Xiao Han's head. There was no fancy move. There was no need to use primordial qi, because this sharp upper-grade, refined weapon was enough to dismember Xiao Han. Swish! Tang Fei moved quickly. Xiao Han was even faster. A bright light that was as clear as water suddenly flashed in the field. It was so fast that no one could react. Bam! Tang Fei's extremely powerful imperial sword was broken at the hilt. Tang Fei still maintained her slashing posture, raising the bare hilt in front of Xiao Han. She looked extremely awkward. This sword is called Jade Water Sword. Qin Hao gave it to me. Xiao Han finished speaking. Swish! He put the Jade Water Sword into the scabbard. His movements were clean and sharp. In an instant, everyone in the Tang mansion sucked in a cold breath. He broke Tang Fei's upper-grade refined weapon with one strike. The Jade Water Sword's grade was obviously higher than the Imperial Sword. The Imperial Sword was Wang Gui's sword. Tang Fei asked for it with great difficulty and brought it to the Tang mansion to show off. But in fact, this sword didn't belong to her at all. Now, it was a treasured sword. Broken, broken, broken. This was simply asking for Tang Fei's life. Wang Gui probably didn't know how to deal with her after he knew about it. You bitch, you're courting death. Greenwood Palm. Tang Fei was ashamed and angry. She was furious beyond words. Xiao Han's Jade Water Sword was so powerful. It was actually given to her by Qin Hao. In an instant, Tang Fei decided that she had to kill Xiao Han and snatch the Jade Water Sword. Only in this way could she appease Wang Gui's anger. Only in this way could Tang Fei vent her hatred. She was too careless. She had underestimated Xiao Han a little. But so what? In addition to the treasured sword, Tang Fei also had a low-grade profound level origin skill. Once she used the Greenwood Palm, her origin chi gathered in Tang Fei's palm to form an illusory, thick, and solid bar. That bar went straight for Xiao Han's heart. One strike, Xiao Han would definitely die. At the very least, Tang Fei believed that Xiao Han would definitely die. Swish! The instant the Greenwood Palm struck, a sharp finger light was flung out by Xiao Han's hand. The finger glow pierced through the bar. Puff! It pierced through Tang Fei's palm. This move is called Golden Finger. It's Qin Hao's technique. I secretly learned it. Xiao Han said coldly. Ah, my hand, my hand. Tang Fei screamed in pain. There was a bloody hole in her palm. Her face was full of shock. She felt incredulous. The Greenwood Palm was Wang Gui's signature technique, Gui Hai Sek's supreme origin skill. But it couldn't withstand Xiao Han's casual finger. She had secretly learned this finger technique from Qin Hao. Fei don't compete anymore. Tang Xian's heart ached. Tang Fei was his daughter after all. Get out of the way. Tang Fei pushed Tang Xian away. She was the high and mighty Princess Xiaoyang. She was a strong martial artist in the 9th layer of element gathering tier. She was born with the origin saint body. She was the phoenix that flew above all the peasant girls. How could she admit defeat in front of a wild girl? Tang Fei didn't care about her injuries at all. She tore a piece of cloth from her skirt and wrapped it around her hand. The origin chi of the 9th layer of element gathering tier surged out. At this moment, her body glowed with a green light, and her aura surged. As expected of Xiao Fei, she's truly a top genius. Other than Wang Gui, very few people in Jiang country can surpass Xiao Fei. Tang Kuan said confidently. The origin saint body was the origin saint body after all. Tang Fei was only 17 years old and had reached the 9th layer of element gathering tier. With this full force attack, the wild girl surnamed Xiao would die without a doubt. Even if she had a sharp weapon, it would be a waste. After all, the gap in strength was too big. In fact, the gap between Xiao Han and Tang Fei was really big. A gust of green origin chi rose from Xiaohan's body. In the next second, it flashed and cracked Tang Kuen's eyes. Before Tang Fei could launch her attack, Yi Zichen was stunned. Chapter 204. Xiaohan is domineering. Is this the strength you claim to be a goddess descending to the mortal world? Xiaohan shook his head. Disappointment. Incomparable disappointment. Xiaohan had cultivated tirelessly, forgetting to eat and sleep, all for this battle. He thought that Tang Fei's performance would make people look at her seriously. But in the end, how sad. Qin Laosi looked at Xiaohan in shock. Shen Wanqin's eyes widened. Even Qin Hao was shocked by Xiaohan again. Xiaohan had reached the Origin Master Realm. Furthermore, he had secretly learned the Golden Finger. She taught herself without a teacher, and she was a monster to this extent. Qin Hao's face showed a rare solemnity. Similar. They were too alike. She was too similar to Han Lingxian from 600 years ago. Back then, Han Lingxian had also secretly learned Qin Hao's primordial skill. In the end, he had used this shockingly powerful heaven-class technique on Qin Hao's body. Could it be that this is the reason why little Han has never abandoned me? Qin Hao let out a silent laugh. However, there was someone who was even more miserable than Qin Hao. Tang Fei lay on the ground and vomited a few mouthfuls of blood, barely suppressing her internal injuries. The way she looked at Xiaohan was filled with disbelief and even fear. Primary Master. How old is this girl? She seems to be even younger than the Sunshine Princess. Monster. The servants of the Tang residence pointed at Xiaohan, who was surrounded by Yuan Qi, and retreated in fear, as if they had seen a female demon. Your sword is inferior to mine. Your cultivation method is inferior to mine. His strength is even weaker than mine. I really don't know who gave you the courage to descend to the mortal world as a goddess. If I were the king of gods in the heavens, I would definitely crush you to death first, so that you wouldn't embarrass yourself in the mortal world. Xiaohan said. In his heart, there was not a trace of happiness. Tang Fei was not challenging at all. You despicable woman, you bastard from the countryside. How dare you humiliate my daughter like this? I want you to die. Tang Xian's anger exploded like a mad bull. The aura of a 6-star Yuan master spread out. Without giving anyone time to react, his palm pressed down on Xiaohan's head. He devoted his entire life to nurturing Tang Fei. Tang Fei was the apple of Tang Xian's eye. She had been pampered since she was young and had an extraordinary destiny. It was fine if she couldn't compare with Xiaohua and Chen Wanqin. Now, even a country bumpkin dared to behave atrociously in front of his precious daughter. Tang Xian could not tolerate this at all. The attacks of experts were swift and violent. Drunkard and Dan Xian were caught off guard by this sudden attack. They watched as Xiaohan was about to die under Tang Xian's palms. Wong. Another accident happened. Xiaohan's body once again emitted a surging light. The first layer of light had raised Xiaohan's strength from a 1-star Yuan master to a 2-star Yuan master. Another one followed. Wong. 3-star Yuan master. Wong. 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 Strong light flashed continuously. Peak 3-star. 4-star Yuan master. 4-star peak. Xiaohan's strength was increasing rapidly. Tang Xian's palms were getting closer and closer. In the end, Xiaohan had already risen to 5-star peak. He had also broken through to 6-star Yuan master. Instantly, waves of primal qi erupted. The strength of the primal qi caused Tang Xian, who was also a 6-star Yuan master, to suffer a heavy blow. He was so shocked that he vomited a mouthful of blood. His body swayed as he retreated continuously. Qin Hao, who was the closest, was sent flying several feet away by Xiaohan's primal qi. Swoosh! At this moment, that mysterious sword technique appeared again. A clear stream of energy swept past Tang Xian's body. In a split second, a bloody palm flew into the air. Xiaohan's sword had severed Tang Xian's hand. The palm landed right in front of Tang Fei's eyes. She was so frightened that she screamed, "My hand! My hand! It's broken, broken, broken!" Tang Xian clutched his severed hand and fell to the ground with a thud. This scene shocked everyone so much that their hearts were about to jump out of their chests. Xiao Han's black hair fluttered in the wind as she stood in the middle of the field. Blood was still dripping from her sword. Her gaze was terrifying. It was as if an empress had descended to the mortal world. Tang Kuan was so frightened that his legs kept trembling. He was only a 4-star Yuan master and couldn't resist Xiao Han's aura. He was about to kneel down. "You can't." Xiao Han shook her head at Tang Xian. "You can't." Xiao Han looked at Tang Fei again. Her gaze was complicated. It was filled with mockery, sarcasm, and disdain. This was the gaze that Tang Fei had when she first looked at Xiao Han. Now, Xiao Han was returning it all back. "So what if you're a phoenix? You're arrogant because you're a young lady? So what if you're a princess? No one was destined to be better than others. A peasant girl could also leave you in the dust." Even Dan Xian and Drunkard were clutching their chests and breathing heavily. Xiao Han's display of strength was too shocking. Drunkard didn't even see that sword move clearly. It cut off Tang Xian's hand in the blink of an eye. Drunkard weighed the pros and cons in his heart. If he had been the one to face that sudden attack, he probably wouldn't have been able to protect his integrity in his later years. Compared to Drunkard, Dan Xian was even more shocked. Dan Xian used to be Dan Ji's member and had a broad vision. Xiao Han's vitality was ridiculously strong. Not only was it as large as a gushing sea, but its quality also far surpassed that of ordinary people. Even a 9-star Yuan master could only flee at the sight of her. Just now, Qin Hao had intentionally provoked Lu Do. The golden armored guard that Lu Do killed was this person's big brother. He wanted to avenge his big brother. Xiao. Qin Hao didn't even look at him. He flicked his finger behind him. Before this guard could reach Qin Hao, his heart was easily pierced by a powerful ray of light that Qin Hao threw out. The speed was unimaginably fast. This move was exactly the same as the one Xiao Han used to pierce Tang Fei's palm. It was even more powerful. At the same time, a green aura swirled around Qin Hao's body. Coldly turning his head, Qin Hao looked at Tang Fei and said, "I didn't attack not because I'm easy to bully, but because you don't have the right to make me attack. Don't try to provoke me again. Otherwise, the Tang Mansion will die a horrible death." Crack! A bolt of lightning struck before everyone's eyes. Green aura. Qin Hao was actually also a strong martial artist at the Yuan Master level. Half a month ago, he was still at the 5th layer of Element Gathering Realm. His improvement was so fast. A row of cold sweat appeared on Tang Kuan's forehead. Qin Hao really hid his strength well, and his endurance was astonishing. This boy couldn't be left alive. Tang Xian was also so shocked that his mind went blank. His 2 golden armored guards both had the strength of a 3-star Yuan master, but they couldn't block Qin Hao's casual finger. As for Tang Fei, her face twisted together again, looking as if she had swallowed a fly. "Tang Fei, you're beyond redemption. Don't do anything to harm Qin Hao, or else I'll make you regret being born into this world." Xiao Han stared over with a threatening gaze. The aura that had just been extinguished rose up again. The crescent jade pendant on his neck gave off a bright light. This gaze scared Tang Fei so much that she staggered. "Let's go." Qin Hao couldn't be bothered to look at Tang Fei anymore. He grabbed Xiao Han's hand and disappeared into the distance. Tang Fei was stunned on the spot. She was scared to death by Xiao Han's gaze, because she had accidentally seen Xiao Han's crescent jade pendant. This jade pendant, she had seen it before. Before returning from the royal city, she and Wang Gui had the honor of receiving a distinguished guest. That guest came to the Jiang country from a faraway place. Even Jiang Wang knelt down and trembled in fear when he saw him. Wang Ba didn't dare to make a sound in front of that guest. That guest took out a piece of paper. On it was a drawing of a crescent moon. The drawing was exactly the same as the one on Xiaohan's neck. So she's the death convict that the guest chased after for thousands of miles. Ha ha! You're called Xiaohan, right? You're dead, and you'll die a horrible death. Tang Fei squeezed out the words through her teeth. She decided to immediately send someone to inform Wang Gui and ask that distinguished guest to come over. This time, even the Fengli Temple would be in trouble.